Eka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza ndowooza Muganda kito kugumaza to divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babeereyo bagumaza naye naffe they can advise, guide. And people in time will judge the one who is their friend and who is just using them.
Tune into UBC radios for credible socio-economic programs. UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
That's it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's one last.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the federal system, which is one of those that should have moved.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on public and national broadcaster UBC, inspiring Uganda. Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome to Ground Zero Season 2, a show that brings you in-depth discussion ranging from politics, health, finance, sports, and so much more. Ground Zero Season 2.
Yes, indeed, this is UBC Ground Zero. We are live and clear on 5 radio stations that cover this program. That is on UBC Radio 98.0 FM, that is in Kampala, Arua 97.4, Lila 99.4, UBC Butebo, we are on 96.9 FM. In case you are in Bali, that is the same frequency, 96.9 FM. Soroti 98.4 FM, and we're also live and clear on another radio station, that is UBC Western Nile Radio, that covers Western Nile sub-region, Acholi, Lango, Karamoja, and Teso sub-regions, and that is on 98.0 FM. We are also live and clear on another important radio station covering all parts of central parts of this country, that is Magic 100 FM, and also we are live on Voice of Bondovujo, that is covering eastern parts of this country. We are also streaming live on YouTube. You just put UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of the conversation. Ampaire Amon Buteega is my name, and I want to welcome you to this important edition. And I'm glad that I've been joined by a very special team of guests in the studios of UBC who are going to be educating, informing, and inspiring us tonight. And we're going to be looking at something very special and important that concerns everybody, not just in Uganda, East Africa, Africa, but also all the global citizens. We are talking about a healthy ecosystem or ecosystems, which happen to be the backbone of our survival, which provide with clean air. We are talking about fresh waters. We are talking about fertile soils. We are talking about the resilience against climate change. And what efforts do we have as individuals, as communities, but also Uganda? And tonight we're going to be looking so very much into Uganda's effort toward ecosystems restoration. And the people that I have in studios, that not only experts, but also people who are at the forefront to make sure that we are living a healthy ecosystems and healthy lives as people of Africa, as people of Uganda. In the studios of UBC, I do have a privilege to have Dr. Jibril Semakula Omusha. He's Uganda's representative to the UN, or United Nations Decade on Ecosystems. That is 2021 to 2030. It is a privilege and honor having you, Dr. Jibril.
Yes, thank you very much. And I wish to thank all Ugandans that are tuning in and appreciate all partners who are giving in their efforts, support towards land restoration. Additionally, appreciate our government together with other support agencies like NEMA, NFA, the Ministry of Water and Environment, the Uganda Police and the UPDF for the good work done towards environmental protection in Uganda. You know, as it is highlighted in the holy books, we are responsible. When the Creator was creating this, like he designed it in the way of we all need to support each other so that we can thrive and live. Therefore, I wish all of you to tune in, share with your colleagues so that we can learn and appreciate our efforts towards land restoration. Thank you very much.
Interesting. Most welcome again. And we also have Ian Green, is the programs director from Eco Producers and Youth Empowerment Uganda. A privilege having you, Ian.
Thank you so much, Mr. Buteega, and good morning, listeners. It is really a privilege and a pleasure being here as well to share about something that concerns us all. See, the ecosystem that we are going to talk about today is something that will determine whether we live for the next 100 years, for the next 1,000 years as human beings, because without the ecosystem, we cannot exist. So it is really a very pertinent issue that we all need to talk about, whether young, whether old, whether male or female, whether educated or not, because it concerns us all, surely. And I really want to appreciate the partners and the management of UBC for really hosting this show to really talk about this issue. I recognize the different significant strides that have been taken by different agencies, community-based organizations like Ecoplexus, Youth Empowerment Uganda, where I'm coming from, and we've partnered with still different organizations, for instance, the Go Green in Kenya, because, ecosystems or climate change is an issue that affects everyone worldwide. If we do not conserve the environment in Uganda, it can impact the people in South Sudan. It can impact the people in Kenya. It can impact the people in the US, because climate change has no boundaries. So there is really a need for us, in as much as we are doing this work in communities, the different local communities, we still need to partner with different people across borders. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Interesting. Also glad to have you. I thought you all would be educating us and informing us about your NGOs that you represent on the show, but maybe you'll bring in that later. Also expecting Isa Katwesige is the Assistant Commissioner for Forestry coming from the Ministry of Water and Environment, who is about to join us. And later on, we're going to be joined by Dr. Yang Tero, who is the founder and president of Go Green organizations, or Guardians of Mother Nature, and is in Nairobi and will be joining us online later on. And I remember saying when they said that when German sneezes, Europe catches a cold, and also Ian put it that ecosystems really can impact and affect all of us. regardless of the jurisdiction and where you are. Uganda's how we behave and live may in one way or the other affect those who are in Kenya or in neighbors, even South Sudan, or even those that are far from Uganda. That's why we need to bring all the other countries to also learn about their efforts and how they impact us as the people of Uganda. So Dr. Yang Tero is going to be joining us later on from Nairobi. Our topic today is Uganda's effort toward ecosystems restoration, and we are here for the next 2 hours. We always love to also hear from you. You can always participate and share your perspectives in this program by dialing 0776 511 426. The number you can always call is 0776 511 426, and you share your comments on what you think needs to be done. As Uganda has committed itself to have restoration goals aligned to UN decade on ecosystem restoration, and so very many other agreements we have made. We have East Africa, we have Uganda, we have NGOs, we have government, we have individuals, we have everyone that is coming on board to make sure that we have these efforts and highlight the progress, we address the challenges and have the opportunity, we have our focus on the opportunities ahead, and to make sure that we all live in a healthy environment with clean water, with fresh waters, with fertile soils. And research said, some time back when I had some professor said that in the next 50 years, we are not going to be having fertile soils. And one wonders, where would the world be growing its food? And some of the reasons to that is that because of how we live and how we have the human activities. We are going to go into all those details. I want to start with you, Jibril, and looking at the efforts of Uganda, and we go to East Africa before we go into the global. And would love to also know how UN decade on ecosystem restoration is recognizing that restoring nature, which is not only an environmental progression but also a social and economic opportunity. What is your take on that, and where do you see ourselves going based on what we're going through today, and where do you envision Uganda based on the efforts?
Well, let's first appreciate the fact that when you talk about the ecosystem, you are talking about the wetlands and swamps. You are talking about the biodiversity generally. You are talking about the forests. And at the moment, I am happy to believe that Uganda generally possesses about 13.9%. That is our wetlands, or the dead areas with the swamps, which are being protected. Additionally, Uganda, we have managed to rejuvenate our forest cover from 8.7%, that was of 2017, to the current status of 13.3%, meaning we are recovering. Yes, the recovery is gradual, but at least there is a significant impact that can be appreciated. And in this way, this is everyone's responsibility. It is everyone's role. Therefore, whatever we do or whatever you do directly impacts the environment. You talked about farmers and agriculture. There is what we call regenerative agriculture. And in this way, you are almost encouraging farmers how best they can promote soil health. And here you bring about the concept of organic fertilizers. You bring about the concept of agroforestry, where we have unique trees like macadamia, we have trees like Coriandra insulata, which directly with their nodules add nitrogen in the soil. At the same time, while they serve as barriers, as windbreakers to the crops, but you are at the same time protecting the forests on your land. Therefore, meaning whatever we are celebrating, it is attributed to all of us, to everyone's effort as far as land restoration is concerned. The UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration aimly intends at halting any form of biodiversity degradation. It aims at recovering the ecosystem. That is, you talk about wildlife. I have seen who are celebrating the birth of white monkeys in our reserved areas. I have seen NEMA celebrating the current status of our wetlands. The Ministry of Water and Environment, we are celebrating the recovery in forestry. As in, there is progress in all sectors. And we attribute this to all our partners working closely with the government, the CBOs, the NGOs, working with stakeholders to see this impact celebrated. My chairman for Roots, that is the running out of trees campaign, is here, and he will so much, or he will deeply tell us what it means having partners like Centenary Bank, Stanbic Bank, Abusa Bank, Equity Bank, all coming closer towards land restoration with the tune of a lot of money. So here we celebrate this, and as a country, we believe that there is progress.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. We are much glad and also privileged to have been joined by Isa Katwesige. He is the Assistant Commissioner for Forestry coming from the Ministry of Water and Environment. A big privilege and honor to have you, sir. And we're wondering what progress have we made as a country in as far as restoring the ecosystems in this country. Any progress made? How far can we evaluate ourselves? If you can highlight on a number of efforts toward the ecosystems restoration from the ministry and to the country as well. Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Amon, and thank you, colleagues. I found the program already ongoing, but I want to thank Dr. Jibril for elaborating some of the issues that I could get a wind of. But yes, I want to agree with what he has submitted. And yes, let me also take the opportunity to greet our listeners. And if there is anyone viewing, yes, good morning. My name is Isa Katwesige, as already introduced. I work as Assistant Commissioner for Forestry. I'm in charge of planning and development for the forestry sector. And yes, ecosystem restoration, of course, is not a one-day event. It's not a one-man show. It calls for planning, it calls for laying the frameworks and seeking as many collaborations as possible and educating as many people about this as much as we can. And starting with, I'll go back like maybe over the last 15 years, actually not 15 years, but actually 25, around 1997, government of Uganda, working with the European Union, prepared a nature conservation master plan, which was meant to restore and protect the natural forests. And then in there were products like it brought about the zoning of within the forest reserves to make sure that there are those
production zones and strict nature reserves, say that we have a situation that, yes, it's not taboo to utilize the forests, but to use the different sections for what they are. So that became one of the first plans that I mentioned, our guiding tool for investment, especially for the forestry sector. And then along the way, we also had, yes, a number of things have been happening. But of course, from the Nature Conservation Master Plan, we also had one of the key findings being that we had most of the causes of degradation in these protected natural forests was the demand for fuel wood, charcoal, and timber, as well as poles, and it proposed the need to create substitutes, like putting in place commercial plantations, and through that, a number of government interventions were introduced. Looking at one was licensing of private planters in forests that are planned to be plantations, and then also the sawlog production grant scheme, which became a subsidy for those establishing commercial forest plantations as a way of relieving pressure on the natural forests and supporting these interventions both on private and government land. And then also the involvement of communities through simpler projects that are less stringent by providing planting materials and the extension service. But fast forward, we also had later systems evolving, coming to about 2011, 12, we had this plan to prepare restoration opportunities, because most of this is derived by responding to the global commitments. So we had the NDP, the very first one of 2009, 2010-11, where the National Planning Authority actually categorized the economy into the shape of an egg, putting priority in sectors that produce tangible benefits for the country, and then also categorizing those that are supporting, and then the ones that are, consumptive, and prioritizing the kind of investment in areas where there is a clear return. And the sector was actually categorized in the yoke. And later that led us into, and all this planning, of course, leads to additional funding to the sector. And then 2 years later, we had the president committing, after we had prepared restoration opportunities assessment methodology report that looked at identifying areas, assessing the level of degradation for the country as the initial or the first step into knowing which areas should be prioritized for landscape restoration. And from the ROM assessment, we identified about 8.3 million hectares of degraded forest landscapes. And from those degraded acreage, we also had areas that are heavily degraded, the ones that are still intact. And of course, that informs the kind of investment that we do in such places, because where it's already, still intact, then the investment goes into strict protection or better management. And areas that are degraded, of course, comes to restoration using different interventions. And that was in 2015. We had the president also committing to the UN under the arrangement of the Bonn Challenge, which later became the UN, the New York Declaration, where Uganda, out of the 8.3 million hectares committed to, pledged to restore 2.5 million hectares of degraded landscapes by the year 2030. And then later in 20...
How far have we gone with that target?
Yes, I'm still coming to that. I'll be giving how far we've gone and how we're actually implementing it. Then in 2022, the government benchmarking on the UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration also passed the 10-year Environment and Natural Resources Restoration Action Plan, calling for all these other investments. And then in the same year, actually the previous year, 2021, we passed the Climate Change Act. In 2019, sorry to take you back a bit, we had the National Environment Action Plan. All those sets different targets and calls for different commitments from the general public on and Ugandans and entities that govern these things to make commitments on what should be done. So to implement, going back to your 10-year, rather before the FLR, the Bond Challenge, we also have the National RED Plus strategy. RED Plus is reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation through enhancement of carbon sinks and sustainable forest management. That's what the plus means. But yes, and to implement this, of course, we couldn't do it as government alone, and we've gone ahead to engage different stakeholders to support these investments from the side of the people who provide the money and those that have the land, as well as those that have a kind of a clear following. And from that, we've signed different memoranda of understanding with the religious institutions, that is the Interreligious Council of Uganda. And then we've also signed with the Uganda Episcopal Conference. We have one with the Anglican Church. And yes, we're working on one with the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council. And we've signed with kingdoms of Buganda, Toro, Obusinga, Warenzururu, working on one with Busoga and Bugisu. But that notwithstanding, we're already working with these entities. Then we're also working with institutions that have like education institutions, the schools. We have the military installations for their countrywide spread. We're also working with the police and the prisons.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. We're going to go into those details, and we have already issues, especially when it comes to people that we thought would be protecting the forests are the ones that are really becoming a challenge to them. And those I'm talking about communities that live near the forests who depend on them for survival. And I'm wondering, how does ministry or government balance strict conservation with the reality of poverty and dependence on forest for such resources? Allow me bring in civil society as well. And as you rightly say, Katwesiki, that you are not working alone as government, because this is a very huge sector that you need partners. And among the partners, we look at the NGOs or civil society. And Ian Green represents Exoplus Youth Empowerment, and I'm wondering how their efforts are also trying to restore the ecosystems, especially when we talk about Uganda. Green?
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. Firstly, I will really credit the government for all the significant strides that have been taken. And we know that, of course, there will always be barriers. And this change does not come overnight. So for whatever they have taken, however small it might be, or however small we might think it is actually a very big contribution to restoring the ecosystems. So as Ecoplexus Youth Empowerment Uganda, for instance, for us, we mainly focus on youth engagement, because we know that as the young people, if we do not conserve this environment, we are probably the very people that are going to face the impacts of our poor ecosystems. So it then dawns on us that we have to really take all significant strides to make sure that we preserve the ecosystem. And in some of the initiatives that we've undertaken, Firstly, we have things like tree planting, because in areas, for instance, our main projects have been based in Agago and Lira, because we know that most of these areas in northern Uganda have been faced with a challenge of significant poverty, and most of the people are actually depending on these forests, that are depending on the wetlands to get their sources of livelihood. So it is something that we've really embraced, and we've gone to different schools, different institutions within northern Uganda, that we've spread the information of awareness among the young people, but we've also tried to do as much as we can to secure trees. And apparently, we've planted more than 1,000 trees within northern Uganda, because we really need to restore the ecosystem. So it is an issue that is really critical, and we've also gone ahead to partner with different organizations. For instance, Go Green, which is in Kenya. In as much as there is all those initiatives that we are trying to take, of course, there are challenges and there are barriers that we face as community-based organizations. For instance, limited fundings, financial constraints have always been there, but also the fact that unlocking people's minds within societies is really difficult. But also, when you go to societies and communities to preach issues to do with environmental conservation, and just like you said, then poverty becomes another issue that comes up, and then addressing that issue becomes problematic, surely. But again, we give the credit to government because of the different initiatives. Now, that is how the economy now comes into play in preserving the ecosystems. So if the PDM projects have worked within northern Uganda, it means that when we tell the people to plant trees and actually not do the deforestation, we then have an alternative to tell them that there is no poverty, or you shouldn't die in poverty, you shouldn't cut a tree because you're looking for firewood, when we've given you money from a particular government project. So I think that as CBOs, as civil society organizations, we really need to work hand in hand with the government, which we are trying to do as well. Though in most cases, we find that also some CBOs could probably do the work silently, and they fail out to be recognized by the government. We have the Minister of Water and Environment, which is having different sectors that could actually accommodate these civil society organizations and CBOs. But then the problem is, if you have not reached out to the ministry, then there is no room for recognition for you. So I really think that in as much as
And I'm glad that you have someone who heads the department, which is responsible for the exact activities that you're doing, especially when it comes to planting trees.
Yeah, so if the civil society organizations can come out and really expose the works that they are doing, and actually it will be very beneficial for the government as well, because it is very good for them to keep record and track of whatever is happening, instead of doing the work silently, and then government thinks that they are only doing the work alone, and yet there are other stakeholders that are actually helping.
Speaking of that, or talking of that, you talk about NGOs that are doing things in silent, but and are not always recognized. But also we have a very big group of youth. We have a very big group of NGOs or civil society organization, or you call them community-based organizations, where youth are often invited to plant trees and take photos for publicity. And one wonders, how are you measuring? How are you making sure that this involvement is meaningful, not just symbolic? Because we have a problem that we have a lot of tree planting online, but less impact on the ground.
Yes, that's very true, and I really acknowledge it, because you see, I will have to be realistic, surely, because most of these organizations really do get funding sometimes, and things like tree planting that are being posted on the different social media platforms are even done for accountability. And that is very
The
problem only
plants,
for
actually, the trees that have been planted online are triple those that have been really planted if we're to go on the ground. And that somehow nags the campaign and also reduces the impact of tree planting and restoring the ecosystem, because we are looking so very much onto the publicity rather than that impactful or meaningful restoration of forests and the ecosystems.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, you'll find that some of these organizations have received the funding and they only take these photos for accountability purposes, and they'll only stop there, which is really problematic.
True that.
And it does not help in this campaign that we are having. What these organizations need to do, I'll give an example. When I was still in high school, there is an organization, actually, it is still existent. Some collapsed, but this is Nature Uganda, which is also based in northern Uganda. And they carried out regional campaigns. So they went to western Uganda and replanted trees, but they made sure they had a follow-up. But also they put up incentives within these particular schools, that the school that really nurtures these trees and makes sure that they have like a forest on a hill, then they'll be given prizes. And I think that is something that most of the organizations have thrown away. When you take the trees to the young people to go and plant, it is also incumbent upon you to really follow up if you're really passionate about conserving the environment, which is something that most of the organizations have not embraced, and that becomes a problem.
Okay. Interesting. Jubril, I come to you. Uganda is part of the global movement on restoration. Yet on the ground, forests are being depleted, wetlands drained, biodiversity lost, all the animals killed, those in waters, soils, Niles, everything is dying. How do we bridge the gap between the international rhetoric and the domestic reality to make sure that we live harmoniously?
Well, you are almost misleading the public that all the animals killed, wetlands degraded. Yet, just a few days, Uganda was ranked the first in Africa, third globally, to have to be championing wetland protection. And this comes with the over 1,590 hectares of degraded wetlands having been restored in the country. So therefore, meaning we are increasing from the previous 13% wetlands we have in the country to a certain percentage. This is an achievement. Recently, you remember Kampala being recognized among the greenest cities in Africa.
Many people have encroached on Lubigi when most of the wetlands in the city and around Kampala have been encroached on by the rich and the poor.
It is inevitable that we have to coexist with the community. But at the same time, there is a need of public guidance and the need for law implementation as far as environmental protection is concerned. Yes, without a sensitized community on how best we can coexist with the wetlands or with nature, such a challenges are always expected. However, NEMA is tirelessly working hard to sensitize the communities as far as swamp wetland protection is concerned. You saw the eviction which happened in Lubigi, and now the swamp, the wetland is rejuvenating. You have seen the presidential guidelines on how the communities who own, the farmers who own wetlands can sustainably use them to protect the waters in them, as well as having other operations that can run in such areas. Additionally, you talked about forests being cut, but not true. It is not very true, because we have seen the Uganda's forest cover increasing to the current status of 13.3%. That is from 8.7 of 2018. What does it mean? Yes, some degradations are happening, but most of them are happening on a private land. You know that the largest piece of land is owned by the community. Therefore, it is a task to us, the environmentalists, or to the government.
Last year, to put this right,
Yes.
last year is it one of the NTV and UBC, I think we reported about this, about illegal logging activities in Goma forest, and where even I think it is the ministry that talked about the forest encroachers to vacate, and you're saying that our forests are still safe.
Can I come in?
Please, I'll come to you, Jibril. Let me first have the commissioner to address that.
Thank you. And I think, of course, it's important. It's a shame I'm coming in at because I wanted to start from a bit from.
Yes.
Yeah, we have an issue. You mentioned that there is a challenge with communities encroaching on forests, and but I want to put it like to start with forestry is a renewable resource. Like it can be, you plant it cyclic, like you can use it perpetually as long as you're using it sustainably. So that said, for the forestry sector, the side of government, we believe in sustainable utilization. We believe that these forests, I mean, the protected ones, those we keep in trust for the people of Uganda. So these things must make sense to the Ugandans themselves. When you look at the divide, if we decided to say like, let's protect the central forest reserves and national parks and local forest reserves 100%, that is only 30% of the total forest cover in the country. The 70% is actually privately owned. It's owned by communities. And when you look at the way these places were gazetted, they are kind of skewed to certain parts of the country. So you'll find that if we decided to concentrate on just the 30%, 100% of the 30%, then ideally it would mean that the rest of the country is left exposed. So how do we do this? We look at where we have the protected areas. 2 years ago, we revised the collaborative forest management guidelines and prepared the collaborative forest management strategy to improve ways how we relate with communities and how they use the protected areas. And so this is well going, and because initially it was more of either if it's NFA, the sector managers or the forest supervisors deciding the fate of these CFMs. But now the revised guidelines actually give more powers to the communities to apprehend even our staff if they go wrong on how the forest is being utilized. So where does that lead us to? Because these communities live on their own land, but they have access rights to certain products. And where that happens, of course, you'll find that you cannot have as many people protecting every inch of the forest, but it helps that with communities to become the extra hand that helps with this kind of arrangement. And then on the other side of the private...
But who allows them to go there? Because I do think that you must have mechanisms or even structures to make sure these forests are protected. But if you are to go back to the file of UBC on November 24th, where the Prime Minister was halting all the activities taking place around Goma, and also look at the New Vision, which reported just a few months ago on, is it in March there, people asking who is behind Mavira forest destruction, as if the ministry is not on ground.
Actually, that is not true, because if you also followed the same story, I'm very sure there are individual cases that are a bit isolated. Like in the case of Mavira, I mean, the report came from the ministry sources internally, and people were actually apprehended. So it's not true that this is not happening, like the ministry is not following.
Okay.
We work with the EPPF, and then we also have a national task force that involves the UPDF, the police, and the DPP, as well as Ministry of Justice, and NFA, NEMA, and it's all combined with UA, and there is that national task force. And even right now, as you also know, I'm not very sure when this report actually came about, but you also know that there is a restoration order on Bugoma. Bugoma has been handled. There have been cases, even cabinet pronouncing itself, ordered for the boundary opening, which was done as a joint activity with Ministry of Lands and Ministry of Water and Environment, as with the stakeholders that had interests in the place. And then, of course, looking at that, there is also a scheduled meeting actually next week with this national task force to look at how the restoration is going to be done. And there are quite a number. There is a whole national stakeholder platform on the protection of Bugoma. And yes, it's a continuous process. Of course, when these things happen, you'll find that there is a lot that goes to the news. But when remedial measures are being taken, the same kind of reporting is not done. But I also have to admit that, yes, it's a shame because the transition between what is privately owned on the periphery of Bugoma and what is owned by government is, it's so easy to say like Bugoma is gone. But actually, it's also important to note that we have a land act in this country that gives people rights on how to utilize their land.
You talked about people who are comprehended. And last year late, you had some people arrested. Around June this year, 2025, you also arrested 5 of them, and you continue arresting. But when is this going to stop? How can we make sure that people, I don't know how I can term it, but hate encroaching on these natural forests? Or forests, if I may say.
I admit that, yes, at least I'm glad that you appreciate that, yes, we are doing this. There is, it's continuous improvement. I'll use the example of the Lord's Prayer. It's been here 2,000 years, over 2,000 years. For us and Jibril here, we have Al-Fatiha that is over 1,400 years old. Human nature is supposed to be, we believe in carrot and stick, where you want to do enforcement and people have gone against the law, you do it. But it's important also to build their capacity to appreciate why it's important to do this kind of conservation. Whereas we're paying attention to the government forests, like I mentioned, that actually the biggest potential lies and the biggest acreage of forest lies on private land. The biggest damage to forest cover in this country is when you look at the cumulative impact of extending one hole at a time. Because when you look at the per capita use of fertilizer and manure and this kind of sustainable agriculture, it's very low. So people so much believe in opening up fresh land for their cultivation. So we're saying that how do we present forestry as a competitive land use, even for the privately owned, such that people know they can perpetually use forestry as an income generating activity, rather than converting it to either sugarcane or rice or whatever else it is that they want to do there. So it's incumbent upon us, and as government we can educate, but also we need these partnerships to make sure that a farmer has no reason, if they have a natural forest, maybe they're going to sustainable use for using like doing harvesting crafts or ecotourism and things that keep the forest running without necessarily changing the land use. So it's a combination of approaches, interventions. Where we need to use force, we use it. Where we need to educate the people such that they appreciate that it's for their own resilience. And actually, as government, we have not stopped at that. While we are protecting the central forest reserves and the local forest reserves through commercial plantations, natural forest protection, ecotourism, and all other interventions. We also have elements to do with, say, urban forestry and agroforestry, because with urban forestry, you'll find that the global projection is that by the year 2050, more than 75% of the world population will be living in cities. And with that, how do we protect, how do we manage that transition, that urban development is not synonymous with degradation? Because we've seen it, that it's not always the case. We can have urban development without degrading the environment. We've seen pictures of Kololo and Makerere in the 60s being bare Maram Hills, and today those are some of the most forested enclaves of Kampala. So it's possible to have these cumulative contributions where people manage their small land holdings with in harmony with the green, and then cumulatively you find like you have a more resilient community to winds, to storms, and flooding, and all those challenges that come, and improved actually ecosystem functioning of these neighborhoods. So our campaign on the running out of trees is actually more targeted to the restoration and intervention of indigenous species, so that we don't lose that natural heritage, but bring the natural heritage to where the people are living through having domestication of these species in their homes, and then cumulatively you'll find that we have a greener country, a more ecosystem functioning country, and then everyone is happy, because in a situation where we have over like 90% still surviving on rain-fed agriculture, then it means that even a single tree, or whether privately owned, it's a matter of national security. It should be public infrastructure that we don't just lose because it's privately owned. So those are some of these tools that we're putting in place, and mainstreaming those in the sermons of the church, in the sermons of the religious institutions, such that we outpace and we have a critical mass of people that believe like ourselves. And if you have a critical mass doing self-regulation, then even the illegalities against the protected areas become very risky for anyone to take on, because public citizens have a right to apprehend even private developers. So it's something that is continuous, and is not like one single silver bullet solving everything.
Interesting. Thank you so very much, Commissioner. And if I take a break, I would have also to bring you Ian Green. I really love the statement that Commissioner used. And my friends in politics, they always say that every vote counts. And if every vote counts, I want to believe that also every tree planted counts. I come to you, Green. You talked about the privileges, the opportunities that are within restoring the ecosystem, planting trees, and you called on all the youth to join the campaign. And also looking at Uganda's unemployment, which is too high, can restoration efforts realistically provide jobs? Or this is still an overlooked opportunity that the youth of this country have not given attention?
Well, thank you so much. I truly believe that there are very many opportunities within the restoration campaign. It is just a matter of the youth realizing where exactly these opportunities are, but also having the passion, really willing to join the campaign. Because I'll give you an example that, Mr. Semakura was saying, that if you do agroforestry within the small land that you're having, then it is very helpful for your agriculture, but also that these trees are really good. For instance, if you use fruit trees, you're having mangoes, you're having oranges, and you're still using them within the same land you're having to practice the small agriculture. I believe that within a very short period of time, you can then be in position to produce fruits for the market. These are just small examples that the youth can look at and really have the courage and the passion to join the campaign. But you see, the problem is that because most of the youth do not have like a vision, when they think of three mango trees and the amount of mangoes that are going to be produced within a period of like, let's say 3 years, then they think that that's less money. And because I mean, we are very anxious. We think that we can easily get a lot of money or we can get job opportunities easily, and I think that success is just something that is going to happen within the shortest period of time, that is going to come overnight, which is actually not the case. But then I think that innovativeness of the youth, the creativity of the youth is something that can actually help them get the money. I'll give an example of some of the innovations I've seen in some schools. For instance, when you go to Kololo SS, they have very good innovations for the plastics. And if you look at those innovations, you will see that if they actually want to make money, they can make the money. But also it depends on whether there is incentive. And I believe that the government has put up quite a good number of incentives for the youth. We have a myoga that is giving out money, and in as much as it is not coming directly from the environment to incentivize some of these innovations, I believe that it is money that can still be used for the same. But we also have the youth livelihood programs that have been put up, and these are all programs that can be used to invest in, let's say, climate resilient innovations, agro-smart innovations that the youth need to really embrace and make job opportunities out of them.
Interesting. Ground Zero takes a very short break. Sorry.
As we go for the break, I want to inform you about the National Wildlife Crime Coordination Task Force, which yesterday we are in Bugoma, still addressing the issues of forest protection involving the community. Additionally, I want to inform you that about 9.24 square miles where the sugar canes are being planted, it was initially a grassland, not a forest area. And again, about 9 square kilometers, it is privately owned by Bugoma Chitara Kingdom, Bunyoro, by Bunyoro Kingdom. This was the same land that was leased to the company for sugarcane growing. However, the community may misinterpret this and assume that the forest is entirely not in existence. Thank you.
Thank you. We're taking a very short break, and when we return, we're going to be picking your calls and also looking at some of your perspectives and messages that you share on 0776 511 And after the break, we're going to get in touch with Dr. Young Tel, is the founder and president of Go Green organization, or Guardians of Mother Nature, joining us from Nairobi, and also sharing his perspectives on what he thinks could be East Africans' efforts toward ecosystem restoration. I'm taking a very short break and I'm returning in just a bit. I pray you don't go away.
This is Ground Zero Season 2. Stay tuned. We shall be right back.
24/7. Listen to UBC radio shows right here, right now. At UBC Radio, all our radio network across the country is committed to inform, entertain, educate, and guide for national transformation.
Our own radio, UBC, should set its own example. Leka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza ndowooza muganda kito kugumaza to divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babeereyo bagumaza naye naffe they can advise, guide, and people in time will judge the one who is their friend and who is just using them.
Tune into UBC radios for credible socio-economic programs. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the personal senior system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Regarding the minimum standard which is expected of a public officer or a leader, this is nothing to deal with declarations. It's how you behave, how you conduct yourself in office and outside office. Darling,
I'm a chief. Yes. If my children are not disciplined, then I can't discipline other people, because my children will be the role model of the community.
Darling, because here the whole hullabaloo is caused by the introduction of the new lower secondary school curriculum, which is calling for research.
Darling, on UBC Radio, connecting you to the world of information.
Did you know that living healthy is the cheapest way to manage your life? A variety of research shows that a healthy lifestyle is the best medicine to live longer and stay away from diseases. Exercise is very important to our health. If you include exercise in your daily lifestyle, it improves your eyesight, normalizes your blood pressure, improves lean muscle mass, lowers cholesterol, and improves bone density. You can jog, skip a rope, or do some other activity that will keep your body agile. Research further recommends eating the right food. Try to eat a variety of vegetables daily. You can eat them in any way, either raw or boiled or lightly fried. Consuming high amount of vegetables reduces high risk of cancer in the lungs, colon, breast, cervix, stomach, bladder, pancreas, and ovaries. You can also lose weight by consuming a variety of vegetables, and it will also satisfy your hunger. It is also important to note that drinking enough water or staying hydrated is paramount to good health. Water helps in flushing out dirt, improving your digestion, activates the muscles, and regulates the body temperature. Keep drinking at least 3 liters of water a day for a healthy body. Remember, health is wealth. My name is Sentamo Rebecca.
Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Indeed, UBC Ground Zero continues, and welcome back from that very short break. We are looking at Uganda's efforts toward ecosystem restoration, and we have a privilege to be having a very special team of guests in studios of UBC. Make sure that we be educated, informed, and these include Issa Katwesig is the Assistant Commissioner for Forestry, Ministry of Water and Environment. Dr. Jubril Semakora Omujsha is Uganda's representative to UN Decade on Ecosystems 2021-2030. Ian Green is the Programs Director coming from EcoPlus, Youth Empowerment Uganda. And we're going to be joined by Dr. Yang Tero, is the founder and president of Go Green Organization, or Guardians of Nature, of Mother Nature, joining us from Nairobi to share the global efforts or regional efforts, and also learning from our neighbors Kenya to see how best we can live well as the people of East Africa, people of Uganda. You can as well share your comments on 511-426 and tell us what you say about our topic today. We are on 5 radio stations covering this program: on UBC Butebo in Eastern Uganda, UBC Western Nile in Arua City, and we are on Magic 100 FM in Kampala, UBC Radio in Kampala, Voice of Bundubujo in Bundubujo, and also streaming live on YouTube. Just put UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of the conversation. 776-511-426 is the number you can call and be part of the discussion. Waiting to be joined by Dr. Young Tero to share his perspective on today's topic. And also we continue with our discussion on UBC Ground Zero. And I will, before I pick some of the calls, I had posed a very significant question to the commissioner about corruption in this country, because most of the problems that we have faced in this, which are watering down all the achievements that we have realized as a country, include corruption, land grabbing, which are reported as drivers of forest loss. And what is the ministry doing to confront these sensitive but critical issues? You're live on radio. You're live on radio. Okay. You can call again on 0776-511-426 and we'll be able to pick you and you share your comments on UBC radios. Waiting to be joined by hello? You're live on UBC radios. This is UBC Ground Zero. Dr. Young Tero.
Yes, good morning.
A very good morning to you. How is Nairobi?
Nairobi is doing fine.
Interesting.
It's a great pleasure and honor to be here with you and connect with Radio Uganda. Ogambachi.
Bolonji. All right. We are looking at today's topic. We are looking at Uganda's efforts, or you can call it East Africa's efforts in ecosystem restoration. And if we can pick any examples from Kenya, we are wondering, Go Green, you happen to be the president of Go Green, which is in Kenya, which has some branches in Uganda, and you're partnering with most of the NGOs and the governments in the region of East Africa. I'm wondering how you see and how is your progress, especially when it comes to ecosystems restoration.
All listeners and viewers and all supporters across the globe who are listening right now to Radio Uganda. This is Dr. Young Telo, the president of Go Green organization, which is based in Kenya. The Go Green was founded in 2011, and currently we are working across the globe, mostly accredited by the UN and also working in partnership with civil society organizations, national governments, and even learning institutions. Our main objectives here is to foster environmental education. We are trying to enlighten people, give them the knowledge on how to preserve and conserve our natural resources, eco-diversity natural resources for our future generations. As all of you viewers, you know very well, the human behavior has been the main cause of this disastrous ecosystem depletion and destructions. And again, also too, none can deny that as we are speaking right now, we are breathing in oxygen. The oxygen itself is being produced by the trees that we cut around, and we make charcoal so that we can be able to fill our pocket with material gain, which is money. So with the Go Green, which we are coming with a deep knowledge, one of them is natural knowledge, natural science of preserving Mother Nature, but also we are giving the public the knowledge on how to use Mother Nature as herbal medicine. We are trying to produce drugs, and even vaccines also too, that we can be able to how to deal with microbial diseases, and even the cumbersome ones, which is also developing drug resistance. As you know very well, the only from Mother Nature is where we get natural food and even water that we drink. So we are trying to enlighten our viewers and even our supporters that let's go back to Mother Nature. Mother Nature is our source of life and is our God. And if we destroy Mother Nature, as the late Professor Wangari Maathai, who was also a Kenyan human rights activist and also environmental activist, she said very well that if you abuse Mother Nature will abuse you big time. So to us as a Go Green, before I come back to you, Brother Amon, which I really appreciate you to come up with this idea of using radio to be able to push environmental education. We want unite our people, especially Africans, to go back to Mother Nature and live organic life. We want our people to take herbs. We want our people to protect our indigenous seedlings and to stop all this kind of a madness whereby people don't care, they just litter, they destroy the environment, and also even using this chemical, fertilizers.
Okay.
So in short and clear, this is a great show, brother, and I'm ready to share any information. God bless.
Dr. Yero, looking at the restoration, which is often framed as a national issue, yet ecosystems don't respect borders. Should East Africa be thinking about regional restoration campaigns? And if so, what should or who should lead, or what should be done? Governments, regional bodies, grassroots organization?
Yeah, and I think this one is actually I want also to take it to our brother and the honorable minister, who is also on the line. Yeah, so I think national governments need to come hand in hand, because Africa before we were just one. So especially the East Africa, there is a very good relationship between Uganda and Kenya, and even in Tanzania and so on. It's a higher time that we need to unite regardless of all these borders, so that we can be able to serve one mission, including bringing all these private partners like civil society organizations, the youth-led organizations, to restore our ecosystem. This is a higher time that actually we have to do this, brother. Yes.
Okay. What are some of the good examples that or activities that you're doing in Kenya in terms of ecosystems restoration that we can pick as a country, Uganda?
One of our other activities that we push here, well, number one is actually the youth-led grassroots organizations. If you listen carefully and the view is there, we teach them about leadership hierarchy. We make them formulate frameworks of operating legally. That's number one. They find a way to have their mission and vision objectives well structured. Once they have already structured this kind of framework within their capacity, then we push them into also getting certification from the national government. Once we align them this, we also go ahead and also have them build a capacity of resources mobilization. So these three things, for them to operate legally, we encourage them to get registered from the national government to seek registration as an environmental organization. So we're encouraging all youth groups who are coming up to go and register very quickly as an environmental organization.
But
then, secondly,
mm,
seek partnership with the national government, seek partnership with private sectors, and also even brands which are also benefiting from our land.
for
Once
the
they have this,
for the
then they can
nations
come
of
forward.
facilitations.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
But you also realize that most of the donors often fund high-profile projects but neglect small local initiatives. And I'm wondering, from your experience, how can grassroots organizations that you're talking about secure sustainable funding without being overshadowed by the big international NGOs?
Now that's a very powerful question, and honestly, I know that all viewers and listeners they're expecting to learn from this. I want you to take a pen and write this down. As the Go Green, that's why we are actually coming to be able to rescue youths from this stagnation. And if you heard me clearly, brother Butega, on the previous questions, I've answered you by giving you three frameworks or procedures to follow. Number one, the youth need to write down their vision and mission objectives clearly. Once they've done that, they need to go ahead and request for certification. They need to go to the national government and get certified.
Okay.
Number three, once they're certified, they will get a bank account, which is genuine. They must have a professional way to operate. Most of these youths that you're talking about, they are not operating professionally, and then yet they expect resources to be trusted with. So if you're a youth-led organization and you're listening to me carefully, I want to conclude this conversation that find a way you can be able to package yourself, because you as a youth, you need to believe that the way you package yourself, you are worthy to be able to manage millions of dollars.
Okay.
So I conclude
Your last batching shots.
that
Your last comments.
yes, I request that they ask questions so that we can be able to answer them. But if they need any help on how actually we can be able to secure funds and get serious partners, then first of all, they need to partner with us. We will be able to run a workshop with them, and that workshop we will be able to give them some practical, professional, and legal trainings. Then they will move forward now to approach the partner or resources that they want to.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Dr. Young Pero, for being part of us this morning and for sharing your perspective on UBC Ground Zero today.
Yes, thank you so much, brother. We are so much thankful beyond any imagination for this opportunity that you have already done and how the spirit of our ancestors communicated with you to bring us on board. So everything is realigning. I would like also to conclude that we are in an era of digital era of technology, AI technology. The youth should not cry foul.
Thank you.
There's so many things that youths can be able to focus with, and I repeat again, focused with. Most of youths are not focused.
Okay, thank you so very much.
There must be some consistency to learn something so that it can be able to help you achieve a certain goals. So learning AI is one of the things that youths need to learn, and then we integrate that with the environmental sustainability. And I'm being honest
Thank
with
you.
you,
Thank you, Doctor.
Explode.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Young. All right. Joining us from Nairobi is Dr. Young Tero, and we're looking at regional efforts, especially when it comes to ecosystems restoration. But what do listeners think about this? You're live on radio?
Yes, I'm on YouTube. You're live from the background of Buteega, and one best flyover direct to NTB.
All right.
I appreciate you. I appreciate Doctor for being online for me. That's why sometimes when we are sharing our neighboring country application back to UBC, then it gives us hand clap for our own Amon Buteega.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, Amon, sometimes environment where we are to embrace ecosystem, you find that the adults, the old people, they are the one having large heads of cattle And these cattle, the system how they graze those animals also causing degradation. And you find that youth trying to do their side, but they are being declined by our own. We are being declined by our own grants who own a lot of animals in general. Now, how best can we accelerate this ecosystem? If we pick that one example to stand before us, and then the engagement between the youth and the elders, there is a missing link because youth cannot work alone without those elders. Then elders also as well, they need youth to give them more strength to push forward. What I mean, when we bring humanity and we don't food or what is harmful to the nature, there will be a collective effort to fight back. That nature will also give us respect. But when we are continuously doing busy, non-existing, satisfactory style of doing things, whereby at the end of the day, the impact will have to come back. And I like one thing, if from the nature, it will not come back and segregate and follow only. It will come and take any life, anything, any living thing across will always go. So let's try to join hands together and we develop this country. But fighting corruption is on. Whoever is embezzling government funds for doing some project and the projects are not being seen, not being monitored, we have to demand accountability and transparency.
Thank you.
And the transparency. I remain Juma from Buteega. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my brother, for being part of this program. This is UBC Ground Zero, always live on every Saturday from 10 to midday. And the repeat of this program is always on Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. and on Monday on Voice of Bundojo. Okay, we have heard from Dr. Young Tero from Nairobi and also Juma and so very many others who are participating. Time is not on my side. Allow me go back to the studios for my guests to address some of the concerns to do with the Nachubu being taken by one of the workers, Ms. Chigundu, which happens to be one of the pages that we're looking at, and one would say that we're also trying to encroach on the answer and where does this leave some of the villages in the Kampala and so very many others. But also, should we develop these drainages and put their structures to make sure that we protect them, but also doing some developments there that I would pick from the Ministry of Water and Environment, but also will come to Jibril and you, Ian Green. But I'd also posed a very significant question to you, which also Jibril, Juma talked about corruption, land grabbing, which all remain threats and challenges when it comes to ecosystem restorations projects in this country. Commissioner.
Okay, thank you, Amon. I will start with the issue of perhaps about corruption. Of course, corruption is age-old, and the water and environment sector has been at the receiving end of some of the negative impacts of corruption. But sometimes, depending on because it's also relative, depending on the intentions of the proponents or the culprits, you cannot tell in entirety whether it's deliberate or it's an oversight or someone was not aware. But at least, like I mentioned already earlier, we have had these issues of some of the people, the culprits being arrested, some contracts being terminated. But the biggest, when it comes to land grabbing, you must have followed that there's been several incidences of identifying, especially illegal titles in forest reserves, in wetlands. And of course, the process is not always like, you don't switch on and off. when these titles are identified, quite a number of them, the owners are given a fair hearing, and it's until that process of the due process of hearings is done that a title is actually recommended for cancellation. And on that effect, especially even where there are no titles and people are just encroaching, I want to take the opportunity also to thank the police and the UPDF, as well as the Ministry of Land, Housing and Urban Development and NEMA that have come really been very supportive in ensuring that the integrity of these fragile ecosystems is protected by coming to our support in either evictions or protecting boundaries. And because in terms of staffing, you'll find that yes, there is that harmonious kind of working together to make sure that yes, we are doing the implementation of the law the right way. And then also, of course, you mentioned about, I don't have the facts on Nachivubo. I can't really state what it is.
But taking its example, should we
Yes,
have
exactly.
these
That's what I'm saying.
involvements to?
That's what
or
I'm
it is
saying.
something that will be jeopardizing our campaigns in as far as ecosystems restorations are concerned.
Yes, like I mentioned, yes, you raise a good example of Nakivubo, but not in terms of the specifics of that idea. But what I'm saying is that what I can say is that yes, previously we've had, especially on wetlands protection, even forest protection, in the urban places, more especially where you have evictions being done and there's no immediate takeover. The position of ministry is in sustainable utilization of some of these peri-urban, urban, fragile ecosystems, wetlands, forests alike. That yes, we were looking at developing them into eco parks. Of course, you know, like there are those places that used to be. I'll use an example of the Nakawa Business Park. At some point, it used to be a taxi park for Mutungo and cars going to the, vehicles to the east. But yes, during the time of Jennifer Msisi, this was worked on. And those are some of the, there is also the city square itself and Centenary Park. We're working with especially the private sector on how these places can be developed into urban parks to provide decent jobs without compromising their integrity at the same time. And this is supposed to be the general trend. The projects being developed for Lubiji, for places in Masaka, and to make sure that, yes, the value chains that are consistent with the utilization of these ecosystems are actually promoted so that people get jobs, people have reason to conserve them and have them beautifully managed so that they continue serving the ecosystem functions without being compromised by the selfish interests of individuals. Because when this is done in the public good, then it benefits the entire country and it reduces on our vulnerability to some of these vagaries of weather and like flooding and actually the stench that come from poor management or even the loss of those ecosystems.
Okay, thank you so very much, Commissioner. I come to you, Jibril, and later on I will come to you, Ian. Especially, you talked about some NGOs doing a lot of activities on ground, but government is not seeing. And I'm wondering what are some of the innovative approaches that young people are bringing that government and big NGOs are failing to see, in that it is the right time now you raise the flag, the commission is just in front of you, and so very many others are listening. Maybe you could get to know or to be known or to be heard, and tomorrow those projects can be taken on. I'll come to you after Jibril on that. Jibril, we are talking about 5 years lift to 2030. Which specific ecosystems in Uganda must be prioritized to avoid irreversible loss? I understand your term started in 2021 and 2030. We're looking at 5 years for the end of your term, but what should we prioritize as a country, Uganda?
Well, let me first appreciate the fact that we had a Kenyan here, and as a country, like other countries, that is Kenya, Ethiopia, we have moved steps as far as having national days, public days meant for tree planting specifically. For example, in Kenya, they normally celebrate, they always have a national tree planting day on the 13th of November with an intention of growing billions, 15 billions of trees by 2032. Similarly, yes, every day it must be a tree planting day. But again, on October, it will be 3rd. Our national tree planting day will be running in Usoga, Mwiri College, and more information will be shared on this. But what is the overall intention of this? It is awakening call, like giving a call to the community that there is also a responsibility we need to cover as individuals, so that we can have our tree cover increasing sustainably. And this is an achievement we must all be proud of. Additionally, you talked about wetlands protection and swamps. Yes, I have said that so far over 1,500 wetlands have been recovered by NEMA. That is, hectares of wetlands have been recovered by NEMA. This is an achievement. And what do Ugandans need to know about this? You have to know that these wetlands, they serve as water reservoirs. They serve as, they filter, they are sieving areas for waters, running waters, from rains to the collection sites. Those are the basins, lakes and rivers. But again, how best are we protecting these areas as communities? How are we managing our plastics? If you have been in Imbalala, I'm happy with the Minister of Water and Environment under the supervision of Dr. Karisti, the Commissioner for Water Regulations and Planning. There is an initiative called Save Riverizi, and we just had a run recently. But what is the intention of this? It's just to give a call to the community that there is a role, an individual role that everyone must play towards the protection of these areas. NEMA has issued guidelines on protecting the river banks, like the catchment areas. If it is 100 meters away from the river, should this be protected with bamboo trees? Instead of planting eucalyptus, which is known as the water-sucking tree, that will at the end reduce the water tables of this river. So, in this way, working together with the government stakeholders, involving the communities, we shall have success registered. We always see it is now a rainy season, and as soon as it starts raining, you already see Kampala flooding, especially in the areas of Chambogo. When you go to Electoral Commission on that end, Jinja Road, Krokta, Wandeva, Narukorongo, all these are hot spots for floods once it starts raining. What does it indicate? Meaning the drainage system has been poorly protected. By who? By us, the community. How? We are openly dumping the wastes, blocking the water channels, the drainage system with plastics, with non-biodegradable wastes and biodegradable wastes. And once these waters flood, these are harbors, they harbor microbes, disease agents. That's why you see in rainy seasons a lot of outbreaks happens. Why? Because the waters are not protected enough. What is our role? Can we say we are so much promoting proper waste management at household level that before the KCCA trucker comes to pick your wastes, has it been sorted? Instead of you have seen people, communities, once it starts raining, someone is openly dumping wastes in a drainage channel. This is ignorance, and it is you, me, and them to teach, to talk about this in the way of promoting responsibility from an individual basis. Before you blame NEMA, before you blame anyone, what are you doing as an individual? In this way, as we enter into this rainy season,
let's take actions as far as the tree planting is concerned. You plant, you grow. You plant, you monitor the tree until it makes a forest. Those who are promoting agroforestry, you can imagine, we already see mangoes coming from Kenya, and the mango it is about 1,500 here in Kampala. You can imagine how many mangoes are needed by every hotel to make juice. So there is money. So if we can encourage our farmers into such a projects, we avail the seedlings. NFA has this ability to provide seedlings. We can better have ourselves involved in taking actions.
Okay.
It is 5 years remaining, but there is success so far registered. As far as forest recover, as far as the wetland recovery is concerned, as well as the support, the urban forest we are having. There is a plan, there is a financing strategy by the Global Environmental Facility as far as urban forestry is concerned. And I'm very sure Kampala we are beneficiaries. Thank you very much.
Ian Green.
Thank you so much. There are quite a number of innovations that have been put across by the young people, first of all, from within high schools, but also across institutions like universities. I'll give an example of stakeholders like Stanbic that has come up with a Stanbic challenge, which engages young people from high schools to come up with different projects. And over the years, I've seen most of the projects being developed in the realm of environmental conservation. For instance, things like solar dryers. I saw a school, I think it was from northern Uganda, I don't still remember the name, but it developed a solar dryer. And this is a dryer that it was being used for food preservation because of issues of food insecurity that were really happening within the environment. But it is something that needs a lot of investment because you see some of the reasons why people resort to deforestation is because they do not have food, they do not have enough resources for them to survive. So if we can have a food security mechanism that is sustainable, then in the long run we can preserve the environment. That is one. But also, still in that same Stanbic challenge, there is a school from Western Uganda that was doing fertilizers from maggots, manufacturing fertilizers. And that was a very good initiative, which I think there is also one other initiative around here, Kampala. I think it's called Kati Farms. And Kati Farms uses black soldier flies to manufacture fertilizers as well, but also that kind of organic waste the flies are converted to organic waste, which is a high protein animal feed that is given to some aquatic animals and reduces this fish consumption within the lakes and the water bodies within Uganda. And I think that is something that really is needed for creating a circular economy, so that we do not fall out on the economy part, but also we do not fall out on the ecosystems that we are trying to address apparently. But also there are initiatives like agroecology, and how we really need to improve the yields and also restore soil health. And these are some of the things that the young people are doing. Besides that, issues to do with technology, because the young people, around 78% that we have in Uganda are under 30 years, and I believe that around 60% of that population uses social media and it uses technology.
Okay.
And it is something that we really need to embrace. There are young people that have developed apps, phone applications that are helping in collecting wastes. For instance, it connects you to a waste collection agent or a waste collection company. And these are some of the things that we really need to invest in. Also, we really need to embrace as a government or as a nation.
As we come to the tail end of our discussion, I would request to have your parting shots and where your way forward and parting shots. I'll start with you, Ian Green, and Jibril, and then Commissioner will end.
Well, thank you so much. I'll have to say that it's really been a pleasure being here to share and discuss this very vital issue that affects everyone. regardless of where we are, and regardless of our age, of our gender, and whether you're actually rich or poor. Climate change is something that can throw you down. It's something that will throw you in the grave if you do not act and if you do not take bold steps towards environmental conservation. So I want to really call upon everyone, the rich, the poor. I know that we can play different significant roles in our different capacities to conserve the environment. Thank you so much. I remain Ian Green from Ecoplexus Youth Empowerment Uganda.
Interesting. Dr. Jibril?
I so much want to thank all our partners that are actively working with us to restore the ecosystem. We have the Kenyan High Commission, which we are working with together with Equity Bank on having 48 hectares restored at Busoga Mwiri College with the forest. That is a great achievement that we have so far received. That we have so far covered about 60% of this land. Additionally, our partners working with us under the Running Out of Trees campaign, governed by the Minister of Water and Environment. We have the Absa Bank, Centenary Bank, Stanbic Bank. We have the Roofings. The Roofings, you are almost the centers of tree seedlings, together with the National Forest Authority and other partners. We have the Grow Foundation. We will appreciate all your commitments towards land restoration. Additionally, I can invite all of you to join us in the National Tree Planting Day, that is the 3rd October at Busoga Mwiri College, where not necessarily coming, but again planting trees in your own area. It is the rainy season. We can start now. Date the number of trees you are planting, duplicate the number of children you are having, at least assign every child a tree to monitor. We have the Uganda People's Defense Forces. We appreciate your commitment and your efforts towards land restoration in barracks. Recently, we declared about it 1st June as 1st May? 31st May as our tree planting day, for military tree planting day, and this was launched by General Bainomicha William, the commandant to military police. This initiative continues to all of us. Let's all stakeholders. It is not our profession. It is an occupation for all of us to take actions towards land restoration. Thank you very much.
Most welcome, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you, Amon, and thank you, Jibril and Ian. It was a pleasure joining you this morning. Just to start from where he stopped, yes, we have this Running Out of Trees campaign, which is basically an umbrella, like, a collection point for where everyone's effort, where there are 2 trees or 1 tree,
maybe
moves into the national
maybe if you can as well
framework.
If you can as well allow me, Uganda's population is growing rapidly. We last had the census of 2024, and you could see the number of the people of Uganda. And with this number of population of Ugandans, how is the ministry or the forestry department that you lead balancing conservation with the demand for agriculture expansion?
Yes, thank you. Actually, when you look at what has been happening, the Running Out of Trees campaign is intended to actually address that. And when you also look at our commitment to the Bond Challenge, the ministry also employs a catchment management planning approach for where conservation is blended with development, with land use changes. And the Bond Challenge, actually, when you look at our interventions, it's meant to appreciate the other land uses by integrating trees, by conserving trees, excuse me, in those other land uses. When you look at it, like we're not supposed to evict people, but how do we have people doing their conservation from the household? Last year we were in Gulu, working with the team on Rocho Pacho, basically for our National Tree Planting Day. But the campaign was looking at how we use the cultural approaches to start restoration at the household. And that said, When you look at the roots is basically intended to, the target has always been 40 million because we started in 2020 and our target was or still remains because we've not shot it, to do 40 million trees every year, whereby at that time the estimate of the Ugandan population was 40 million people, and we're looking at least one tree for every Ugandan every year, without limiting it to any kind of land use, but it can be in your compound, it can be in your backyard, it can be back in the village or at the school where the children go. That was the intention, such that we increase in number with our indigenous species for different uses and for those value chains. As I also come to that conclusion, like my appeal is to the common person, everybody, to make sure at least that, yes, where it's unavoidable to cut your tree in the backyard, at least especially if it's an indigenous one, you don't uproot the stump, but allow it to regenerate, to grow, because in what is called the farmer managed nature regeneration, it helps not to lose the diversity, the biological diversity of the species that we've got, and then also protecting what we already have. It's not just about planting the trees. That's not what the Roots campaign is about, but it's protecting what we have and then also sustainably using what we've got and supplementing that with the carbon enhancement of tree planting. But it's in general about responsible living. While we have the National Tree Planting Days, these are just peak events. But for the year, we do encourage, because the seasons dictate what happens wherever we are. If the season is not conducive, then you plant when it's ready. But in essence, the one tree for every Ugandan is meant to simplify it, that you can actually do a tree even in the middle of the dry season and water it and make it survive without having feel the burden. But it's about that, having that feel for the environment and the urge to give back. And to the youth, ideally, our offices remain open. The Ministry of Water and Environment has a mentoring program, mainly through the Water Resources Institute. Every year, there are youth and young people that are selected for mentorship. We also have a retired professionals platform, where a scheme where some of the retired professionals from the ministry and other ministries are given opportunity to mentor, to train, to give service on a retainer basis, such that that knowledge is not lost. And it's also open. Ministry of Internal Affairs has a requirement for NGOs, regardless of whether youth or children or old people, to have recommendation from the different ministries, their line ministries, and it's something that we really appreciate, because it also gives us the opportunity to interface with some of the interested organizations that want to be registered in the country, and it gives them a level of accountability. And it through such platforms that we've got in touch with the Million Trees International, NGOs like Tree Adoption. All these are youth-led. Tukuma, Youth Go Green, Tree Scare, Praising Gabdo, all those NGOs. Some of them come and you try to guide them, because it's also a job to guide them on doing the correct thing. So as they do their bit, some get bored and drop off, but I'm glad that quite a number of them are coming with different ideas that we've taken on, and we only help to guide on how it can be sustainably done. And looking at the value chains, there is youth employment as at individual level, but there's also youth employment as organizations. When you look at some of the water and environment products that we've got, there are quite a number of opportunities for them to pick on the value chains. Just looking at forests alone, there are interventions on seed collection and selling, seedlings production, things like being tour guides on nature-based tourism, and things like that. But it's about the youth picking their niche, because it's not just about waiting for donor support or external funding, but it can actually be growth out of the nucleus, out of youth innovation. Some of them have come with the tools that are helping us to do mapping, to do accountability, to do counting of trees, and it helps us work together and also stay aligned to the global developments. As I conclude, I also want to indicate that yes, our interventions are renewable in nature, and they are cyclic, and looking at the different areas that people invest in. For example, we shouldn't be just limited about the planting or the protection, but we have a number of interventions even on sustainable utilization, on efficient use of these resources, because there are those areas, especially now like for schools and institutions, where we have elements of energy conservation that, yes, we can't wish away the use of charcoal, the use of firewood, the use of poles, the use of timber, but how do we make sure that we are self-reliant on production of these items? Schools that have land to do woodlots and plantations, to do energy saving stoves such that there is efficient use for what they have. Orchards, fruit orchards, or indigenous trees for fruits as a source of nutrition for schools, for the students. Ornamental planting for beautification, boundary planting for protection of the land, and among other things. So I want to take the opportunity to thank Amon for always inviting us and giving us the opportunity to speak to as many people as possible, because as we know, like, it's also a challenge that, yes, we cannot always afford airtime on radio and TV, but when we have these collaborations and opportunities to appear, we maximize that. I also want to add my voice to Jibril's to invite us for the National Tree Planting Day in Jinja at Busoga College, Mwiri, which will be preceded by the homecoming by the old boys, and a walk from Kampala to Mwiri, involving the youth, the hobbies and other friends of Mwiri College. But we're also working with whoever. If you can't make it to Jinja, you can always plant a tree wherever you are. You can water a tree if you've already planted it, or if there is a tree being protected, or at least you can tweet about it so that the public is aware of that. I want to thank all our partners, UBC and the other media houses, then the private sector, the corporate private sector, the individual farmers, the religious organizations, the cultural institutions, because we just can't say enough. And because time is not our best ally, but at least I would basically point out everyone for their contributions that they've made. But it's always continuous improvement. It's about being committed to that, because it's the least that we can give back to Mother Nature. Thank you so much.
Interesting. That brings us to the end of our conversation today on UBC Ground Zero, live on 5 radio stations and streaming live on YouTube. And I want to thank you, gentlemen, for making time to come through and educate the people of Uganda and East Africa at large on this very big platform, discussing Uganda's effort towards ecosystem restoration. And I want to believe that our listeners have picked a leaf, especially when it comes to ecosystems restoration. And I want to say that every tree really matters, and plant as many as you can. Plant as many as you can, and make sure that we live a very good life as the people of Uganda and the people of East Africa. I want to thank you, Issa Katwesige, Assistant Commissioner for Forestry, Ministry of Water and Environment, for making time to come through. Dr. Jibril Semakura Womugisha is the Uganda's representative to UN Decade on Ecosystems 2021-2030, and Ian Green, Programs Director coming from EcoPros, Youth Empowerment Uganda, and we also had the privilege to talk to Dr. Yang Tero, founder and president of Go Green Organization, or Guardians of Mother Nature, joining us from Nairobi. It was a very big privilege having this conversation, and I want to thank you, our dear listener, for being part of us from the time we started until this time. The repeat of this program is always on Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. That is on UBC Radio 98.0 FM, and on Voice of Buteega, Monday, same time. For God and my country, Ampaire, Amon, Buteega, and I'm now sign out.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about that. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the National Senior System, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda. At UBC Radio, all our radio network across the country is committed to inform, entertain, educate, and guide for national transformation.
Our own radio, UBC, should set its own example. Leka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza ndowooza muganda kito kugumaza to divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babeereyo bagumaza naye naffe they can advise, guide, and people in time will judge the one who is their friend and who is just using them.
Tune into UBC radios for credible socio-economic programs. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
This is independent sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune into UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Uganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Bululi FM, 100.5 Ngea FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Total Ray Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you covered in your local language. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
You ask one. See them girl beauty them. You're my one and only. I wanna love you till I can't go. My girl, she a Cinderella, dance till a she fall off. She not care for money even if you're big and tough. She do it for the love. She a little shy till she tipsy, that be dancing, yeah. Now you already know. When I see you, it's going down for sure. No put the egg out this time for sure. What we do, nobody got to know. Now you already know. When I see you, it's going down for sure. No put the egg out this time for sure. What we do, nobody got to know. Oh, na, baby. Ooh, I wanna love you, baby. You know you're my one and only. I wanna love you till I can't no more. Oh, na, baby. You know I wanna love you, baby. You know you're my one and only. I wanna love you till I can't no more. Gano masima baby sikulimba. Na yetu no mufano siku kutimba. You're to be calling, now you got to the fake. You and I don't even tell your bestie Gina. If our eyes are brown, we should keep it on the low. Sing songs for you, yeah, you're my angel. I give the world to you, baby, call me Caesar. When you see me, turn a little girl, such a teaser, pleaser. Nah, you already know. When I see you, it's going down for sure. No baby, hey girl, this time for sure. What we do, nobody got to know. Oh, nah, baby, you know I wanna love you daily. You know you're my one and only. I wanna love you till I can't no more. Oh, nah, baby, you know I wanna love you daily. You know you're my one and only. I wanna love you till I can't no more.
You ask one. See them girl a beauty them.
The minimum standard which is expected of a public officer or a leader. This is nothing to do with declarations. It's how you behave, how you conduct yourself in office and outside office.
I'm a chief. If my children are not disciplined, then I can't discipline other people. Because my children will be the role model of the community.
Because here the whole hullabaloo is caused by the introduction of the new lower secondary school curriculum, which is calling for research.
The Link on UBC Radio, connecting you to the world of information.
Did you know that living healthy is the cheapest way to manage your life? A variety of research shows that a healthy lifestyle is the best medicine to live longer and stay away from diseases. Exercise is very important to our health. If you include exercise in your daily lifestyle, it improves your eyesight, normalizes your blood pressure, improves lean muscle mass, lowers cholesterol, and improves bone density. You can jog, skip a rope, or do some other activity that will keep your body agile. Research further recommends eating the right food. Try to eat a variety of vegetables daily. You can eat them in any way, either raw or boiled or lightly fried. Consuming high amount of vegetables reduces high risk of cancer in the lungs, colon, breast, cervix, stomach, bladder, pancreas, and ovaries. You can also lose weight by consuming a variety of vegetables, and it will also satisfy your hunger. It is also important to note that drinking enough water or staying hydrated is paramount to good health. Water helps in flushing out dirt, improving your digestion, activates the muscles, and regulates the body temperature. Keep drinking at least 3 liters of water a day for a healthy body. Remember, health is wealth. My name is Sentamo Rebecca.
Broadcast 24/7. Listen to UBC radio shows right here. Take a walk of literature in the Journey program. A memorable walk of life into creative writing, arts, fiction, and non-fiction every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. only on UBC Radio. From Julius Ochwinyo to Susan Chiguri to Jack Mapanje. Join us on the journey as we take you into the lives of various writers in the world of literature. The Journey on UBC Radio. Literature Review is rooted in the past, resounds in the present, and moves us into the future. The Journey on UBC Radio.
BDM. Are you a Ugandan earning below 1 million shillings per year? Government of Uganda is strategically putting PDM for you to get you out of poverty. PDM is an initiative of the Government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform the lives of all Ugandans for better.
Get to know more about PDM in your parish by tuning in. We bring you experts to explain, clarify, educate, and interact with you on how to benefit from PDM.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda. PDM.
Take a walk of literature In the Journey program, a memorable walk of life into creative writing, arts, fiction, and non-fiction every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. only on UBC Radio.
Okay, a very good afternoon, dear listener. Welcome to the Journey program, the program that is dedicated to the world of literature, where we comment on all genres of literature every Saturday from midday to 1. Your host, Gobi George. We are still yet to come to terms with the passing of Mary Carol Okurutu, and we still pay tribute to the legendary writer, renowned educationist, that's Mary Carol Okurutu, who passed on last week. She was a great lady, great writer, and she mentored many writers, because the founder of FemWrite, that group of writers, women writers, they're not only writers, but they are also male writers, but she mentored a lot of those writers. So we're yet to come to terms, and in great loss to literature fraternity, and of course lecture room 4, because lecture room 4, for those who've been at the Department of Languages, it's very famous. It has produced many writers. Even Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who passed on a few months ago, also once sat in lecture room 4, just like Mary Carol Okurutu. We continue to put the families in prayers, and we shall probably look at some of the works that she wrote. Writers don't die because their works do live, so we shall be looking at some of the books here as we remember that great educationist and writer. It has been a very exciting week, especially for the football lovers, those who've been following the Pamoja Championships that is being hosted by 3 countries, and it's continuing. It will continue even today as Uganda takes on Senegal. We hope for the best. But back to where we stopped, we are still on the oral narratives, and we had a discussion about the popular ones and the myth and the legends. I think by now you can differentiate. But before we go to another oral narratives, let's just look at the similarities and differences of the myth and the legend. So we say that both have the basic elements of a narrative. They have the story, they have the action, they have the character, they have the setting, and they have theme. They both have that. But remember, we said that when it comes to differences, settings of myth are intangible. Myth are set sometime back in time. They are set in a different world. And that's why we say a long time ago, when there was nothing in the world, when there was space, myths are set in, the settings are intangible. We cannot find them. You go to the story of the Genesis, it's a myth. In the beginning, when God created the world was void, it was nothing. But settings of legends are fathomable. They are kind of like the legend of Chibuka Omumbale, the Baganda. They have even places. Or there's the legend of Rwanda Magere. You know, it's somewhere in Kenya there, Jaluo in Kenya, where there is that Goma Hia hill. So settings are kind of fathomable. You can understand that it happened in Buganda, the first man in Buganda. the first man in Mbale, the Mama Saba, the Kundu and Sarah. So it's something that you can possibly go there and see. And but they both have no specific time for formal occasion or performance. They don't have no. You can perform a myth or a legend at any time. But when it comes to difference, you find that myth focus on supernatural. Myth focus on the supernatural. The likes of Chimbumba or Mumbale, who could fly and hide in the crowds, or Lwandamagere, who could be hurt when you touch his shadow. For him to be hurt, you need to hurt the shadow. For example, if you wanted to kill or to spear Lwandamagere, you had to spear the shadow instead. So myth focus on supernatural, but legends focus on human beings, like Chintu, like Masaba. So when it comes to similarities, the legend and the myth both has elements of kind of, they both share the fantasy. But when it comes to differences, myths are believed by faith. And belief of a legend is optional. Myths are believed by faith. Like the story of the creation in Genesis. It's the Christians that believe them. But legends, you either believe that Chebuko Mumbale existed or not. So they both have a moral and didactic qualities. They both have that kind of educative quality, didactic quality. But when it comes to differences, accounts of myth are origins of phenomena. Those of a legend are not necessarily so. Remember when we were discussing the myth, we said that they attempt to tell us the origins of things, or call it phenomena, something strange. For example, the origins of death, the origins of man. But for legends, they are not. They just tell us about those heroes. So when it comes to similarities, both the myth and the legend attempt to explain the relationship between human beings and their environment. You find that they both attempt. But we said, legends, you either believe or you have the option of not believe. But the myth is taken as gospel truth. Because when it comes to Christianity, you cannot deny that God created Adam and Eve. It's a myth when it comes to oral narratives. And to the Baganda, Chintu is the first man in Buganda. And to them, Chintu and Nambi lived at one time, and they went to the Baganda. It's true. But to the legends, you either believe or not believe. So myths have more fantasy than legends. And they are both shared within a social group. Both are shared between social groups. There are those that believe in them. There are those, for example, the story of Jipel and Labong. If you know, come from northern Uganda or West Nile, those believe that there was Jipel and Labong. The story of remember we said that legends have evidence. The legends have evidence to prove their existence, while myths do not. So they remain in the world of the supernatural. And we'd say the differences is that the legendary hero is close to the ordinary human being. The mythical hero is far removed from the ordinary reality. And they're quite very, very interesting. They are quite very interesting phenomena that you need to see. Those subtle elements you need to understand if you are to understand the oral narratives. And the legends are always set in the present world, not the beginning of the world like the myth. Legends are always set in the present world, not the beginning of the world where the myth is set. Legends are events that happened in the recent past. They speak of heroes who liberated their people from captivity or slavery. Legends are understood as secular stories. Unlike the myths, legends are not treated as if they were religious stories. Their heroes are earthly people, and the events they speak to are understood to have taken place. So that's what you need to understand. It's the journey on UBC Radio with me, Gobi George, where we are summarizing or we are winding up the story of the oral narratives, but we are not limited. We shall be having many of those. And we said that we shall attempt to share with you if you have the legends that you people do believe in, or even the myths. It's the journey on UBC Radio with me, Gobi George.
Take a walk of literature in the Journey program, a memorable walk of life into creative writing, arts, fiction, and non-fiction every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. only on UBC Radio. From Julius Ochwinyo to Susan Chiguri to Jack Mapanje, join us on the journey as we take you into the lives of various writers in the world of literature. The Journey on UBC Radio. Literature Review is rooted in the past, resounds in the present, and moves us into the future. The Journey on UBC Radio.
PDM. Are you a Ugandan earning below 1 million shillings per year? Government of Uganda is strategically putting PDM for you to get you out of poverty. PDM is an initiative of the Government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform the lives of all Ugandans for better.
Get to know more about PDM in your parish by tuning in. We bring you experts to explain, clarify, educate, and interact with you on how to benefit from PDM.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda. PDM.
At UBC Radio, all our radio network across the country is committed to inform, entertain, educate, and guide for national transformation.
Our own radio, UBC, should set its own example. Leka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza. Ndowooza Muganda kitwa kugumaza. To divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babereyo bagumaza naye naffe they can advise, guide. And people in time will judge the one who is their friend and who is just using them.
Tune into UBC Radios for credible socio-economic programs. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Take a walk of literature in the Journey program, a memorable walk of life into creative writing, arts, fiction, and non-fiction every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. only on UBC Radio. From Julia.
Okay, welcome back from that short break. It's the journey here on UBC Radio with me, Gobi George, where we are still looking at the oral narratives, and we've so far discussed the myth and the legends. Now, let's jump into one of the most interesting oral narratives, and that is the fable. The fable. Now, the fable is an oral narrative in which the principal characters are animals, insects, reptiles, or even birds, or even strange phenomena like talking rocks, whispering forests, hissing rivers and lakes and oceans. So, like the human tales, the fable is mainly performed for purposes of entertainment and moralizing. There are some moral lessons, especially to the young ones. And the fables are indeed very, very exciting to the young ones. Now, the electronic version of the fable are the modern cartoons that your kids do watch a lot, kids that do enjoy. We could call that the modernized electronic or animated. Actually, it's called animations, but that's the fable. And those are the cartoons having those animated versions of strange. And when you look at the cartoon, you find that there are many characters. An interesting character that I normally watch on Nickelodeon channel is the SpongeBob. So you can see it's a sponge, a bathing sponge. That is the character in the SpongeBob cartoon. So you find that the SpongeBob lives in the pineapple under the sea. And when you hear the way they are introducing the SpongeBob cartoons, there's that character who sings that who lives in the pineapple under the sea. And you hear the kids replying, SpongeBob, SpongeBob. So that's the fable. But this time around, we are having the oral version of the fable, the oral version this time by the way of the word of mouth. So you find that some scholars argue that the fable is an animal tale with a moral. You find that many kind of scholars. So it is usually a short narrative in which animals are presented as the principal characters. The animals appear talking and acting like human beings, but keep their animal traits. This means that the animals in the fable are not completely personified as the popular thinking is. When you talk about personalization, you're only simply saying that they are given human traits. But the fable, though they are talking animals, still they retain the animal characters. So this means that the animals in the fable are not completely personified as the popular thinking is. So in fables, animals can be taken as surrogates, that is, acting in the place of human beings because they're given those human traits. But they remain with their animal instincts, like we are going to see. So you find that more than any other oral narratives, the fable is usually amusing. It's quite amazing. Like I said, those cartoons, the Tom and Jerry characters, very, very interesting, the Tom and Jerry. Hope that were one of the most popular cartoon characters, Tom and Jerry. So you find that they are quite amusing. There's humor humor is at the center of the whole narratives. For example, you can imagine, for example, a group of elderly rats having a reconciliatory meeting with a delegation of elder cats, the Tom and Jerry. They're having a reconciliation meeting. The elders, you find a group of elderly rats having a reconciliatory meeting with a delegation of elder cats to end the Tom and Jerry story, that one that we are talking about in that cartoon character. But this time around, these are oral. We are using the word of mouth, not motion pictures, like those that you see on the screens. So, but humor is not simply for humor's sake. Humor in the fable is usually a satirical element against that animal that puts himself or herself in a difficult situation. Out of each, he or she has to be rescued by usually a smaller but clever animal. The poor Kapere kinds, remember, you always have the clever hare and the stupid tortoise. And they're normally paired in that kind of category. A smaller version of an animal character always outwitting a very big version. For example, you find that the frog is paired against the elephant, Jumbo. And the frog outwits the big character. So that's kind of humor. So it's not basically for fun, but there is that element of morality that you always need to know. Because just imagine, we used to have a story of the frog, Wachikere, Newa and Jovu. Remember those characters? And they had a race that who will be the fastest. Even the chameleon is part of that. Who will be the fastest to reach town. And out of it, you find that the slow chameleon is always the wisest. Uses any means of moon to find that the chameleon reaches town very faster than the cheetah, the fastest animal. So we said that, and we said that that character, that animal character, is always put in a very, very tough situation, but usually a smaller but clever animal rescues that usually big character. And usually, humor is at the expense of suffering. And thirdly, you find that behind that humor, there is always a moral lesson. So, in most cases, this moral lesson can only be understood by members of the same, particularly or culture group. It is members of the same culture group that can easily recognize the peculiar characteristics of the animals in the fable. They are the ones that can easily equate the behaviors of the animals to that of their members. And you'll find that basically they pick the character traits of certain animals and they equate it to the character traits of the human beings, human flaws. For example, we all know that the hyena is a greedy animal. So if you have corrupt, greedy people in society, they are always labeled as hyenas. And you find the small characters like the hare, the tortoise, are always given that kind of wisdom. They are small, and it indicates that there are only a few members in society that are clever. So the size is subtly or properly depicts that you find that there are few clever people in society. That's why they are labeled as very small animal characters paired against the big or stupid or dense animal characters. You find that the elephant is always the one that is stupid. The hippopotamus are always labeled as stupid. And that's it's a depiction of the big number of society that are not morally right. So you'll find that in most societies, animal characters are so well known. Even their names have already gone into the current usage as synonyms or metonyms of the qualities they represent, like the example we just look at. The example we just looked at. But still, let's consider a few examples. For example, the hare. The hare, quite amazing character. The hare is usually portrayed as cunning, trickery, and kind of a parasitic animal, a parasitic living animal. You find that it's packaged in a box of trickery. He does not hunt. When it comes to community work, for example, clearing the wells where all animals feed, he's always missing. When it comes to community work, he's always missing. But when it comes to the big share, he's always around. He's the first to drink the cleanest water, or at times he first drinks the clean water, and then he jumps into, washes into, makes it dirty. Other animals have to wait before the well, the drinking spot comes down. So he's built in that trickery, built in that kind of trickery. Then we have the sheep. Lengere mbata, lengere ndiga, of the sheep. And the sheep is always portrayed with humility associated with deities, but also stupidity. Portrayed as humility associated with deities like the lamb. It is given that kind of heavenly deities, but still stupidity. Of course, we've mentioned the hyena. Greed is the first that comes to that character when it comes to the fable of the hyena. It is greed, cowardice, so is coward, timidity. That is always portrayed in kind of symbiotic living in relations to the lion. But when it comes to the lion, strength, leadership, reality. So we have the king of the jungle is always the lion. And regal people are always equated to the lion of Judah. Then we have the dog. When it comes to dog, of course, they are given the character of patience. It could be impatience. The dog is always impatient, but also loyal, especially to people. So it has that element of reality to the people. It's the journey on UBC Radio with me, Ngobi George, where we're looking at the fable. And we are simply saying that a fable is an oral narrative in which the principal characters are animals, insects, reptiles, or birds. And you find that at times you have strange phenomena like the rocks, the wind, and they're quite entertaining. And we've given an example of the electronic version of the fable are basically the cartoons that kids do enjoy watching. And the fable are basically meant for the young ones, but even the elderly or the adults do enjoy those animal tales. So, from what we've just said, it ought to be clear that the animal characters in the fables are stereotypes. The stereotypes of society, and the animals are often taken from and found in the physical environment of a particular community. This then means that members of that community are well acquainted with the traits of the various animal characters that are portrayed. So it's therefore usually easy for the audience to follow each fable and construct meaning out of it. As a matter of fact, the audience can even guess the outcome of the fable as soon as the key characters are announced. For example, if the key characters are the mighty pair of the hare and the sheep, an audience from East Africa region can foretell that the former will outwit the latter. You can foretell that the hare will outwit the sheep, especially when it comes to the East African community, the Pamoja community. We have the Pamoja Championships. Come even 2027, we are going to have the Pamoja Africa Cup. So when you talk about the sheep and hare, you obviously know that the hare is going to overwork. At the end of the fable, the hare is going to come out the treacherous character who is going to outwit the sheep, because we know the sheep is stupid, portrayed as stupid, black sheep. Before we wind up today's discussion, we need to point out that the most common variety of fables in the trickster stories, that is, the trickster is a clever, cunning, and lazy character who thrives on the sweat of others. When you mention such character, you find that the hare comes in handy. The hare always comes in handy. So that bunny character does not work, but feeds like a king. So he thrives on the hard work of other characters, or he makes them work. So you find that in most East African communities, the trickster animal is usually the hare. In some West African countries, it's the tortoise who is clever, or the spider. So in West Africa, so phenomena that are quite familiar with the tortoise being the clever one. In East Africa, it's the hare, or that bunny cat, that bunny rabbit. So the trickster figure is not always the same, like we're going to see. However, the flow of the fable seems to cut across cultures. The trickster is rejected and always punished at the end. Even when the trickster is not caught and punished, as it is in most cases with the hare, it is clear that his or her behavior is not the kind that is approved of in that kind of particular society. Instead, it's the kind of behavior that society would seek to correct and dissuade the audience from. So there are always moral lessons that we learn from that trickster, and the society is always dissuaded from that kind of characteristics. That kind of character is not, although he can fool the other characters, is not. Society does not want to associate with such trickery in that character of the hare. It's the journey on UBC Radio with me, Gobi George. Let's take a nice short break. But when we return, we shall look at some of those animal characters that are quite amazing, especially to the young ones that are at home because it's holiday time. So tell them that the journey is about, on the journey today we are having the most interesting character, that is the fable, that is the oral narratives in which the principal characters are animals given human traits.
PDM. Are you a Ugandan earning below 1 million shillings per year? Government of Uganda is strategically putting PDM for you to get you out of poverty. PDM is an initiative of the Government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform the lives of all Ugandans for better.
Get to know more about PDM in your parish by tuning in. We bring you experts to explain, clarify, educate, and interact with you on how to benefit from PDM.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
Change chibebi chili just no mukwano hepe nacho tusiba kubichentebe ngachikute ngachenyiga koko bigere changa manali sisobola kukugana talanta toline nyonyogere bigere abandi basalako naye nabagana labakwe ojja nokatula mwakatebe Polita, want you for dinner. Don't remember go to buy a cheetah bones and chilina. Cause I found love for Mokwano Bulina. I love you, my champion winner. Namanya. Nakula ba. Namanya. Nakula ba. Dosirika, kweyogera tobunira mukwano neno ne muwambi. And when you come from one pakakutano, I come running to you cause my heart is for you. Tebanzijawo no neta wetuka wawo mbanize iye gwedobozi iye gweluyimba ku radio mama olukuba Polita, want you for dinner. Don't remember go to buy a cheetah bones and chilina. Cause I found love for Mokwano Bulina. And I love you, my champion winner. Namanya. Nakula ba. Namanya. Nakula ba. Namanya. Nalaba.
Nalabada, ejage. Nalabada, politimo, ejage.
Take a walk of literature in the Journey program, a memorable walk of life into creative writing, arts, fiction, and non-fiction every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. only on UBC Radio. From Julius Ochwinyo to Susan Chiguri to Jack Mapanje, join us on the journey as we take you into the lives of various writers in the world of literature. The Journey on UBC Radio.
Hey, it's the journey on UBC Radio with me, Ngobi George. We are looking at the fable, simply call it the Animal Tales, where the main characters that I was talking about are the animals. And let's have a feel in these remaining minutes. Let's have a feel of how a fable is staged. A very long time ago, there lived three neighbors, the leopard, hyena, and the guinea fowl. Though the three were neighbors, one could not, to be honest, call themselves friends. They were just acquaintances. One day, on one of her usual strolls, the leopard ran into the guinea fowl. Leopard was so much taken in by the guinea fowl's beauty that she forgot her mission. Her mission was to look for food for her offsprings. Food later, beauty first, thought the leopard. And he said, "Dear guinea fowl, do me a favor." "What favor, neighbor leopard?" "Direct me to the great artist, the same one that decorated you so beautifully," replied the leopard. "That I can do, but on condition. Would you pay the price for my labor?" returned the guinea fowl. "Why not? Do you not know that I'm the great huntress? What price is greater than to kill a fat, delicious bushbuck for you?" Leopard replied. Okay, sorry about that lapse. So we are saying to our friends, the leopard and the guinea fowl. Now the guinea fowl set her prize. Leopard was to find a festering carcass of any animal and bring it to the guinea fowl's homestead. Now, being a skillful huntress, leopard quickly and easily killed a bushbuck. She kept it somewhere till it started to rot. She then went to guinea fowl to report her success. Guinea summoned all her children, grandchildren, and her grandchildren's children. Leopard then led the guinea fowl's party on their trek. Soon the party reached their destinations. They feasted on the maggots from the rotten animals, had their fill, and returned home. As you know, a promise is a debt. Leopard went back to guinea fowl and fowl. "It's time for you to fulfill your promise. I'm here. Take me to the great artist, the arch decorator that turned you into a bush beauty," implored Leopard. Guinea was as just and fair lady. She revealed to her neighbor that she was the very artist whose skill Leopard was seeking. Guinea fowl, the great artist, decorated Leopard so well that the leopard could not believe she was now such a beauty. Head, torso, legs, arms, tail, everywhere, Leopard was the New Delhi of the bush. She was thankful. But time we shall begin from there. next Saturday, because this is quite a very, very interesting piece, and we shall see what happened to the fair fruit. So that's the feel of the animal tale, or call it the fable or the animal tale. And we've said that a fable is an oral narrative in which the principal characters are animals, insects, reptiles, or birds. And now we are seeing the character of the leopard, the hyena, and the guinea fowl. We shall begin this fable next Saturday and look at the part where the hyena comes in, because we've said that we've given traits to these animal characters, and each society, especially in the East African society, we find that the hare is given the character where it's cunning, there's a lot of trickery, but the kind of parasitic living. The sheep given humor, but associated with deity and also stupidity. The hyena is associated with greed, cowardice, timidity, and a living that is not really good. The lion is portrayed with strength, leadership, and royalty. That's why the kings are always equated to the lion. And we've seen the page, the dog is normally, but also very loyal to the human or to the people. That has been the journey with me, Kobe George. Have yourself a lovely, lovely Saturday afternoon. But those who can manage to go to cheer our boys, please go and cheer our boys at Nambole. And the tickets have become so elusive. By the time those tickets are posted on the market, they vanished as soon as they appear. So they are becoming elusive. But don't you worry, because every game, every second, every minute is broadcast live on our national broadcast, both on radios, our radio stations, and on our TV stations. So have yourself a lovely, lovely Saturday afternoon, and let's go and cheer our boys, and we wish them luck to make history, to progress to the semi-finals for the first time in their history, because they also made that leap. They had never qualified for the knockout stages, that's the quarterfinals, but we pray that they do, they give us another dose of happiness. Have yourself a lovely Saturday afternoon. God bless you. Holiday makers, please make useful time of the holiday. Don't go into things that are going to destroy your life, your career, or your future. Because if you mess around, you sleep around, you drink, you go into drugs, that's a mess for your future. I'm your host, Ngobi George. Have yourself a lovely Saturday afternoon, but don't you go away, because lots of educating and entertaining programs are coming your way immediately after the lunchtime news that is coming in a few minutes from now.
Change chibaby chili just no mukwano hepe nacho tusiba kubichentebe ngachikute ngachenyiga koko bigende changa madali sisobola kukukana talanta toline nyonyogere bigere abanji basala kona yena bakana labakwe ujja okatula mwakatebe Polina, want you for dinner. Don't remember go to buy a chita bonza chilina. Cause I want love for Mokwano Bulina. I love you, my champion winner. Dosirika, kweyogera tobunira mukwano lyeno ndi muwambi. And when you come from one bakakutano, I come running to you cause my heart is for you. Tebanzijawo nono neta bwetukawawo mbanize ine gwedobozi egweruyimba ku radio mama olukuba Bulira, want you for dinner. Don't remember good to buy a chita bonza chirina. Cause I found love on Mukwano Bulina. And I love you, my champion winner. Namanya. Nakula bang. Namanya. Nakula bang. Namanya, namanya, nalaba, nalaba,
Nalabata, echage. Nalabata, politimo, echage.
PDM. Are you a Ugandan earning below 1 million shillings per year? Government of Uganda is strategically putting PDM for you to get you out of poverty. PDM is an initiative of the Government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform the lives of all Ugandans for better. Get to know more. At UBC Radio, we bring you Uganda's latest news and information.
The News Watch never stops.
All news now. Who knows what's next? But we'll be there. News on UBC Radio.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in to UBC Radio. My name is Fahim Wingo, and this is UBC News Lunchtime. In our top stories, 9 thugs suspected of vandalizing vehicles in traffic congestion have been arrested. 3 bodies recovered after passengers were swept away by floods in Kapelebiang district, whereas Uganda takes on Senegal in their CHAN 2024 quarterfinals this afternoon, and elsewhere Nigeria has deported dozens of foreigners in a major crackdown on foreign-led cybercrime syndicates. The news in detail. President Yoweri Museveni has assured investors from Rebel Group, an international consultancy and investment firm based in Nairobi, of Uganda's readiness to partner with them in key infrastructure projects. Meeting the group led by former U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Kyle Mukete, at State House in Entebbe, President Museveni welcomed the firm's interest in Uganda and emphasized the country's long-term economic opportunities. The president told the group that they can start with infrastructure such as the Kampala-Bombo toll road and the MPG bridge, which projects are linked directly to the market and the consumers. The president also mentioned that infrastructure investment is central to unlocking regional trade, particularly within the African Continental Free Trade Area. Prashiv Shah, the financial consultant with the Rebel Group, welcomed President Museveni's guidance and declared the group's interest in Uganda. He said that in Kenya, they are already combining infrastructure with real estate development, but are willing to come to Uganda not just for infrastructure, but for many other sectors as well. 9 thugs who have been vandalizing vehicles in traffic congestion have been arrested by police with the help of closed-circuit television CCTV cameras. Some of these suspects have been identified as Dan Makana, Stephen Kajubi, Stephen Oundo, and Ibra Asimwe, Izo Windusa, and Isaac Kangeni. The arrests have been identified by their pseudonyms and include Baba, Ibra, and Owan. Luke Oesigide, the Kampala Metropolitan Deputy Police Spokesperson, said the suspects were noted in operations conducted by Kampala Central Police Station, CPS Kampala, and Jinja Road Police Division. Oesigide further explained that the joint operation was conducted in areas of Shell Nakawa, Punjab, Rufura, Wampeo, and Mukwano roundabout stretch. They said the areas are where CCTVs have often captured them hiding after participating in vandalizing. According to investigator, the operation followed several complaints from the public, both on social media and police stations, about criminals vandalizing and stealing from motor vehicles, especially during traffic jams at peak hours. Police said the criminals mainly target vehicles such as Harriers and Mercedes-Benz, stealing parts like side mirrors and front vents. Investigators said the operation was commanded by officers from CPS Kampala and Ginger Road Police Division. He said the 9 suspects are currently detained at CPS Kampala for screening, fingerprinting, and further investigations, as most related cases are reported there. Police have said some of the suspects have already confessed to committing several acts of vandalism, along with theft, and are cooperating with the police in tracing other wanted accomplices still at large. The other wanted suspects are identified by pseudonyms, and these include Musiramu and Juice, whose destination is always Mugolobi, Nakao Division in Kampala. Meanwhile, the Entebbe Police Division has arrested Winnie Nachimbugwe on occasions of torturing a 12-year-old boy by pouring hot water on him. The woman, aged 31, is said to have tortured the boy on Wednesday. Patrick Onyango, the Kampala Metropolitan Police spokesperson, said the incident occurred in Kungulutale, Kajansi Town Council, Wakiso District. According to Onyango, the victim, a primary 6 pupil at Sharp Kids Primary School, sustained serious burns on his chest and back. A mob attempted to lynch Nachimbugwe Winnie, but she was rescued by the area chairman and later arrested by police officers from the Kauka police station. Onyango said a case of child torture has been opened and Nachimbugwe is being held pending interrogation. Police said statements have been recorded from relevant witnesses and inquiries into the matter are still ongoing. Still in our news, 3 bodies have been recovered from a little bridge in Kapelebong district after passengers were swept away by floods. The incident occurred when a gateway bus traveling from Lira to Abim reportedly attempted to cross the bridge before losing control and tilting into deep waters, throwing passengers off their seats. Several passengers were injured and others have been reported missing. The driver of the gateway bus reportedly attempted to cross the flooded bridge before losing control. According to Francis Akorikin, the OC5 chairperson of Kapelebong district, the dead have been identified as Isaiah Okunyanyag from Kabong district, Kennedy Odong from Lira district, and Kevin Alupo from Ochukudu, Napak district. An unspecified number of the individuals are still missing and rescue operations are ongoing to locate them. Okorikin also stated that the road has been closed for public safety, which has disrupted access between Kapelebong and Otuke districts. The bridge is currently deemed unusable for traffic, and the army has been deployed to regulate access and ensure that no one attempts to cross. Some victims were taken to Abim Hospital for further treatment following the incident. And now Uganda will this afternoon take on Senegal in their CHAN 2024 quarter-final, knowing they have to win not just for their nation but the region, following Kenya and Tanzania's elimination. Having watched co-hosts Kenya and Tanzania get eliminated on Friday, Uganda Cranes know that they will not just be playing for their home nation but for the region. Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, who are co-hosting the 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN, had all gotten past the group stage and made it into the quarter-final, but the first 2 are now out. The Harambee Stars of Kenya were first to crash out on Friday after losing 4-3 on post-match penalties to Madagascar, following a draw of 1-1 in regulation time before Tanzania followed a few hours later when they suffered a 1-0 loss to Morocco in Dar es Salaam. Now Uganda, who had a difficult time sealing a place in the last 8, have the task of ensuring the Pamoja flag keeps flying as they host Senegal in their quarter-final clash that starts on 5 p.m. today. Uganda have their work cut out as Senegal are the tournament's defending championships and have proved to be hard to beat, and the Cranes will need to be at their best to get past the West Africans. Uganda coach Mwale Byekwaso acknowledged that today's game is a very tough one, but was quick to note that the team is prepared. His Senegal counterpart, Suleiman Diallo, knows Uganda will want to make home advantage count, but is confident of getting the result he needs. Let's cross over to foreign news, where Nigeria has deported dozens of foreigners, including 50 Chinese nationals, in a major crackdown over the last week on one of the largest foreign-led cybercrime syndicates, the country's anti-graft agency has said. The agency said this brings the total repatriated convicted foreigners nationals to 102 in the ongoing exercise, adding that they had been found guilty of cyber terrorism and internet fraud. They are among the 192 foreigners arrested during a sting operation in Lagos that happened last Friday. Nigeria is notorious for internet fraud and romance scamming is rife. Cybercrime cases were also amongst the most prevalent offenses that happened in Nigeria last year, according to the Economic and Financial Crime Commission. In recent years, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission has successfully busted several hideouts where young cybercrime criminals, locally known as Yahoo Boys, learn scamming kills. There have also been several high-profile cyber fraud cases linked to Nigerians living outside the country, some uncovered by the US's Federal Bureau of Investigation. Finally, nowadays, 5 people have died after a tourist bus returning from Niagara Falls crashed on the motorway in western New York. Witnesses saw the vehicle lose control and turn over approximately 40 miles from Niagara Falls, a major tourist destination on the US-Canada border. Most of the 52 people on board are from India, China, and Philippines. Some were thrown from the vehicle and others were trapped inside the wreckage for several hours, police have said. It is believed most were not wearing seatbelts. The cause of the crash is not known, and authorities have urged drivers with dashcam footage to come forward. Ambulances and medical helicopters were sent to the crash site near the town of Pembroke, 30 miles, 48 kilometers east of the city of Buffalo. Translators and translation dives were brought to the scene and hospitals to assist in the investigation. Dear listeners, before our news, let's have a quick recap of our top stories. 9 thugs suspected of vandalizing vehicles in traffic congestion have been arrested. 3 bodies recovered after passengers were swept away by floods in Kapelebian district, whereas Uganda to take on Senegal in the CHAN 2024 quarterfinal this afternoon. Elsewhere, Nigeria has deported dozens of foreigners in a major crackdown on foreign-led cybercrime syndicates. That's all I had for you in our news. Thank you so much for tuning to this radio. My name is Fahim Wingu. Good afternoon.
UBC Radio Network, your national preferred choice. We broadcast all over Uganda and beyond. Join us on 98 FM in Kampala, 99.4 FM Lira, and 97.4 FM Arua. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda. Every Saturday, UBC Radio broadcasts the Information Hub, your one-stop dive radio show. Join us to learn and know new information about innovations, research, and development. The Information Hub, knowledge is power, on UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome to Information Hub program this Saturday with me, Henry Baguma, Herbert Chigundo, Hilary Katulevi, Alium Simenta, and Iga Masajagi. This time around, we hear from Uganda Prisons Health Department. As you may be aware, government has constructed a state-of-the-art hospital for Uganda Prison Authority. The facility is based at Luzira in Kampala. We'll hear more shortly after the break.
At UBC Radio, all our radio network across the country is committed to inform, entertain, educate, and guide for national transformation.
Our own radio, UBC, should set its own example. Leka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza ndowooza Muganda kitwa kugumaza, to divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babereyo bagumaza, naye naffe they can advise, guide, and people in time will judge the one who is their friend and who is just using them.
Tune into UBC radios for credible socio-economic programs. news. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
You're listening to the Information Hub. Knowledge is power. Right here on UBC Radio. Inspiring Uganda.
Welcome back from the break. Now, government has built a state-of-the-art hospital for Uganda Prison Services. The institution has been officially commissioned by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Diana Atwine, at Uganda Prison Services headquarters in Luzira. We hear some of the speeches during the commissioning ceremony at Luzira.
Allow me to give you an overview of what the health system looks like at Uganda prisons. What you have seen is just one hospital, but we have a full system. The UPSA system, though, is organized around the Ministry of Health minimum health care package as the benchmark, but it is customized to fit within the prison's administration system. Therefore, it covers all of the 267 prison facilities around the country, and this includes 2 referral hospitals, 1 for staff and 1 for prisoners, 9 health center 4s, 57 health center 3s, 100 health center 2s, and 101 health center 1s. We have some prison facilities that have prisoners that are below 50. Those are health center 1s. On the other hand, the Uganda Prison Services System is heavily involved in providing medical legal services and incurs medical expenses beyond what the minimum healthcare package provides. And this to address some needs that our staff get during the line of duty. It's unavoidable. If a staff gets hurt during the line of duty, beyond what you can manage, you can't refer them or abandon them. The major determinant of health in the prison is that the prison community exhibits a unique demographic and disease profile different from that found in the community. I'll give you an example. That the prisoner population is composed of 95% adult male and only 5% women. Now the children are very negligible when you add the whole country population. So the major causes of morbidity and mortality in this population differs from the community, whose demography is skewed towards females and children. And therefore, the National Medical Stores medicines packages that are predetermined for each level of care does not actually fall in well with us. Neither does the staffing structures fall in as the Ministry of Health has stated. Our current staffing coverage is about 28% of the required staff, and the staff are composed of both custodial and non-custodial staff. Again, that presents us with a few issues as well concerning dual loyalty to ethical issues. Because the custodial staff are custodial, their ethics that they are expected to adhere to, that sometimes are in conflict with the health ethics. The major challenges of understaffing is the lack of access to social amenities due to the isolated locations of our prison facilities. However, I would like to point out also that the staff structure as proposed by NOH is not aligned to the staff needs of the prison system due to the differences in the disease profile as a function of the population demographics. What is the OPD attendance? While the average OPD attendance rate at prison is more than 1, because the maximum should be 1. Ours is always more than 1, and this is mainly attributed to the fact that our clients don't really have alternatives to seek for health care outside the prison community, and yet the neighboring communities come and seek for health care from the prison because we are operating an open door system where even the community can come in for purposes of increasing our good relationship with the surrounding community. The clients therefore at our OPD partners are usually overwhelming. This is attributed to the staff availability and the presence of drugs, mainly coming from supplementary budget that has been provided by the Commissioner General of Prisons. I would like also to give you an overview of our bed occupancy rate. The average bed occupancy rate is usually over 100%, with quite a number of cases on the floor. This indicates a limited bed capacity in the institution, not because of high numbers of inpatients, but because patients in prison tend to stay longer for obvious reasons. The increased length of stay, however, increases the risk of disease transmission, increases expenditure on health supplies, and overstretches available human sources for help. It is therefore necessary to provide for more admission spaces to reduce the congestion levels to address this challenge. On average length of stay, the length of stay on average in admission is 2 weeks against the acceptable average of 6 days in a public facility. This is attributed to the unfavorable prison conditions that lengthen the recovery, the age bracket of the patients, and an increased prevalence of chronic conditions like TB, cancer, and metabolic diseases. What I will not say, Madam, today is that in the hospital, one also finds a bed, a mattress, bed sheets, and a blanket, which are not found in most of our accommodations inside the prison facilities on the wards. Therefore, someone is likely to stay longer enjoying a comfortable bed than to say that they have recovered and they should be discharged back to the crowded ward. On referral, the cases that are beyond the capacity of our facilities are referred to the community-based public health care facilities. Madam PS, this is a very expensive venture if the patient is a prisoner. It requires 2 guards on an 8-hourly rotational basis. This involves transportation costs of the guards back and forth, feeding them, and inconveniencing the hospital staff and clients with an increased risk of escape of the prisoners. It is cheaper to build internal capacity to promote referral within our own system. However, referral patients cannot entirely be avoided, and therefore availability of appropriate ambulatory services is a very critical function of the hospital and yet lacking. Linkage to care. One of the biggest challenges to service delivery is linkage to care following the release of prisoners who are on chronic care. Clients who need chronic care, including HIV services, tend not to present referral notes from prison facilities to public facilities for fear of mistreatment and segregation. This leads to non-adherence to medicines, development of resistant strains of infectious diseases, increased risk of transmission, and untold suffering. To bridge this gap, there is a need for us to have a closer collaboration to develop a lasting solution on how this can be addressed. In conclusion, Madam, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you once again to Uganda Prison Service. Your landmark visit has boosted the confidence not only among health workers, but also across the prison community. It will always be remembered as a turning point of health service delivery in this community, and therefore I wish you a fruitful stay during this visit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. James. Dr. James informed me that those are the welcome remarks, and you can hear the welcome remarks that are full of statistics and very hard words. Madam Chief Guest, after that remark from Dr. Chisambu, I request that you allow us and present some kind of entertainment from our prison's jazz band, the brand of Uganda Prison Service, that the Commissioner General has built jazz band.
Dr. Kisambu is one of the senior officers in the Health Department of Uganda Prison Services. Let's also hear from the Commissioner General, Uganda Prison Services, Dr. Johnson Byabashaiza.
I want to thank you, please, for finding time on your busy schedule to come and commission this staff. I don't know what to call it, hospital clinic. Dr. Sam, what is the correct nomenclature for this? It's a staff hospital. Thank you very much, Madam, please. Should clap for her. Let me first give you our numbers. I have 14,988 staff of the Uganda Prison Service, and they are manning 78,935 inmates. those staff of mine, the 14,988, approximately have about 127 relatives. That is spouses, children, and other relatives. And then we have a neighboring community of about 2 million people. This is what this staff facility is containing with. In 1997, the decentralization process transferred the prison health services to the Uganda Prison Service. I think before that, the prison services were directly under the Ministry of Health. Unfortunately, they didn't transfer the money. The money remains with the Ministry of Health. So it created a situation where you have transferred the health services to the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the prison service for that matter, but the funds have not equally been transferred. And yet, we are aware we have a higher prevalence of infectious diseases in our prisons. We also, I think all indices indicate that both TB has a higher prevalence in prisons because of our unique situation. Even HIV is higher because of where the catchment area of our inmates is from very vulnerable groups, which would call for a higher, we should have a higher amount of money than we are currently having in our budget for health services. Madam, we are aware that prison health is public health. All these people we have here have to go out there. Human rights and international conventions require the prison to deliver health services of a standard that is equal to that found in the community. What is being offered in the community should be what we should be offering here inside the prison environment. And I understand in the Ministry of Health, primary health care is organized along with the minimum health care package. Any services beyond this package is meant to be outsourced from private health providers. This community has no access to alternatives due to limited freedom of movement. If you recall, recently I took out a very important visitor to access health services outside. I was not amused when it was a main item on the BBC. Now you can imagine if I had to take out Mukuru with our available transport means, either to Nakasero Hospital or to, he must be hearing. Madam, we are very, very near the, you can see. Yeah, that is the dilemma we have. Because we have
restricted movement of these individuals. This can only be achieved through collaboration with the, if we are going to attain that standard of health care, we can only achieve it through collaboration with the Ministry of Health. And I must salute the Ministry of Health. I've seen some players here who are working with us very closely, especially the TB, the TB Commission. Yes. Now, what we are still lacking, I think, we have that collaboration, but we are still lacking the funding also. We should not only have that collaboration with the specialized personnel, but we should also have the funding coming through. Uganda Prison Service wishes therefore to strengthen its relationship with the Ministry of Health. That's why I consider it a very big achievement on my part to have youth come here, support to staff hospital. You have toured the staff hospital which you constructed, but I was constructing it for my staff, for the 14,800 staff and their relatives. But as we have seen on the board, 60% of the total patients attending the hospital come from the community. And this population is still growing, as you rightly observe. This has depleted the little available funding, and yet UPS is implementing an open door policy. We cannot keep these people out. Our proposal is to establish a confounding mechanism that will ensure continued access to health care by the neighboring communities. In your itinerary, you are supposed to visit the National Bay Hospital. This is a final hospital for prisoners. I don't know when it was built. The information which you put, it is not 1920s, no. It was much later. And at that time, the population was small. But of course, as the demographics change, even the prisoners change. We are growing at 8% per year, the prison population. But here I notice that people are committing more crimes, more. The population, and that hospital, I deliberately removed it from your itinerary because I thought it was not worth being visited by the PS of Ministry. We are currently working with the Ministry of Health Engineering Department. I have seen the person in charge of engineering here, to develop appropriate plans to construct a prisoners referral hospital that meets the 2025 demographics. Let me inform you that the catalyst for this, the media, I don't need to write this one down. But recently I had the Minister of Finance inside as a guest. When he came out, he vowed that he wants to do something. So we are working with the Ministry, Engineering Department, to construct a prisoners referral hospital, as I said. As the person of Ministry of Health, this will require your support to get through the approval process for funding. As you are aware, all of us can find ourselves in prison. And those of us who are of advanced age, most likely, we will develop an element inside the prison environment. It will be terrible that for us who have been in charge of this institution to find yourself in that maximum hospital. That's why I'm working very hard that before I know, I do something. I might not complete it, but we should be able to start. As we were discussing, Madam Pierce, we talked about mental health. The Mental Health Act and the Prisons Act both provide for the transfer of mentally ill prisoners to a mental facility. And as I had indicated to you, we are trying to establish. Of course, we are getting support from the technical people, from the referral hospital, mental hospital. But we would wish to have a facility there. And the plans are underway towards that. I think one of the conditions was that we must visit a mental health facility outside here. I think the director of planning whom I will introduce must have planned for that. I want to applaud the collaboration with Nile with mental health with the International Referral Mental Hospital, providing all the visiting capacities, connecting equipment and supply. We should clap for the consultant support from the group hospital. Given the current disease trends, establishment of referral services at Venezuela requires human resource capacities and skills that are beyond the institutional ability to provide. You have already asked me whether we have specialized services around. I think we can do some surgery. Is that correct? We have some radiology services. But that is the basic minimum we can have. But we need this collaboration. And the hospital can come in very to realize the full functionalization of these facilities. The institution is hiring various consultants to build the capacity of staff. This is very unsustainable, especially considering the rise of patient population. It is our hope that in Nadu, I've seen the ED here. I just hope you will be able to deploy some of your consultants here on a scheduled program. I think Dr. Sam should be having some minimum resources to facilitate the consultants to come and give us the capacity we require. The prison health policy. We appreciate the framework of health service delivery as provided in the national health policy. Note that one of the reasons for the decentralization of prisons health services was due to the unique population, demographic, and disease profile in the prisons community. A few unique areas remain unaddressed in the current national health policy and yet are critical to the prisons community. After a wide consultative process, a prisons policy as an amendment to the national health policy
has been developed. Shall bring it to your attention formally so that you assent to it, to give it a firm mandate for its implementation. I think there's a draft before you there. Yes. Apart from that, of course, we are an inclusive community, but we are not immune to non-communicable diseases. We have had a few incidences of staff above the age of 50 just dropping dead. And we thought that that policy will reinforce how we handle the staff who are vulnerable. I would like, in conclusion, to appreciate the tremendous support from the Ministry of Health, ranging from technical support to health supplies and critical equipment. I thank you for continuing the policy guidance. I thank you for the services of Buteega Mental Hospital. I thank you for the referral services from Nagu Hospital and reference laboratory for technical assistance in training laboratory personnel.